3, 2.
Hello, welcome to Plat Chat episode 97, and it's the Desk Boys. We're all here today, and we got Vansilli. Hey, Vansilli. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm doing great. Was Josh trying to impersonate me? I don't need to do
That would be so cruel to begin the show.
We're friends, man. We tease each other. We tease those we love. It's all good.
Yeah, no, I was just smiling and looked like a thumb.
We ran a little poll in the chat for the listeners and those who are watching this later as to who was late. Now, if you're watching the video back, I think you could figure it out with visual context. But if you're just listening, it was Bren. and it was a neck and neck race with the poll in chat.
It was some bullshit.
Sideshow 39%, but Sideshow was actually, he was the second person. You were here on time. What matters is
That's pretty rare.
Josh was here.
I could fall out of my bedroom window and land in the set. I can't be late. I can't be late. There's no commute.
Yeah, I mean, and Kurt and I live here. And Vansilli, very timely. This man's a consummate professional. This is why Wyatt gives him the big bucks. And
I tried.
But and Bren, I mean, he just lit the fucking TNT fuse. He got the Red Bull and he cracked it open. And that means my man is ready to pod. He is absolutely ready
15
to
minutes. I'm going to sit here in silence for 15 minutes.
Did you sleep for like 14 hours? Because you said you wanted to sleep at 10, which sounds like the beginning to the morning of a responsible adult. What happened between that? How did we arrive here?
I got into bed at 10.
Yeah.
And Josh's stream up. The dulcet tones of analysis, of Valorant analysis, put me to sleep.
I should market my stream like that.
Yeah, you're making really good content over there, Josh. Let's go on.
So, and then eventually I went to sleep. Like midnight, I think.
Yeah.
Woke up at like 20 past 11, having the fucking craziest dream. And I can only remember scraps of it, but it was just it was like so abstract. I was traveling across the land and walking across a tower that had collapsed and had softened in the rain, and fucking, it was wild, man. It was crazy.
Elden Ring.
You know, I love podcasts where they tell each other about dreams.
Elden Ring too. Then I woke up.
The funniest stories are dreams that you yourself didn't experience and can't relate to.
Realized I needed to be on the pod in 40 minutes.
Yep.
The pod. My mornings take a lot. So pre-med Bren, my mornings take a fucking long
You think that
time.
mustache brushes itself?
No, trust me. I need 2 hours in the morning.
No shot. You need 2 hours in the morning to get ready. What the fuck are you doing?
Because I gotta eat my breakfast before I take my meds.
Okay.
Otherwise I won't eat breakfast.
Okay. And are you grilling a salmon for breakfast?
No, but I'm wandering around pondering life.
You need 2 hours of philosophy in the morning.
Can't you do that? You got to do that. Do that at night. A little glass of wine, robe, stand on the balcony, peer out at the cityscape.
I wake up. I'm like, I just slowly go about my day. It takes me like 2 hours to gain enough momentum to eventually start my day.
What you need to do is the Vansilli method. Put some toast in, get it out, slap it on your cheeks. Instant second-degree burns. On with your day. That's the method for getting things started.
And you smell good. You smell like toast, so you don't have to shower.
I love toast scent. I mean, people don't know. No context
needed.
No context needed. If you know, you know.
It's just truth.
If you know, you know. As always, also for the live viewers, the super chats are enabled, and if the super chats are additive to the discussion, that's the key point, really. Additive to the discussion, we might read them out loud and discuss whatever you have, whatever point you raised or question you may ask related to a topic.
Unfortunately, the super chats have been enabled, but also Kurt just turned on the 7 TV emotes in the live chat. So all of the super chats are just going to be like peepo piss or something. They're simply not going to be additive.
That's fine. Still gets us
Capybara Council
money. All good. All good. But also, funny enough, I'm asking you for money, but we've got a sponsor. How about that? How about that? These guys only care. Plat Chat's changed. Plat Chat has actually changed. Cue the dramatic music. Josh, how are your balls doing? They doing all right? Gentlemen, also, Josh told me I was going to, if I can keep a straight face during this ad, he's going to give me $100. Gentlemen, all men strive for gold in their life, right? Gold medals, gold watches, gold everything. However, there's a certain type of man who goes the extra mile. He walks with the confidence of an eagle and giggles in the face of danger. He's a big, hairless winning machine. And when he unzips his pants, he sees platinum? That's right. Manscaped, trademark, would like to introduce you to their best and biggest ultimate hygiene bundle yet, the Platinum Package 4.0. Manscaped, TM, is the leader in below-the-waist grooming. Now trust them with the whole shebang. Join the 4 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by going to manscaped.com for 20% off plus free shipping with the code VALOCHAT20.
There's a lot of stuff in there. Now, also, when we used to do the reads, right, a long time ago, when we first got our first Manscaped sponsorship, they used to say 2 million men who trusted Manscaped. We've added 2 million. We've added 2 million to the Manscaped.
2 million more?
Yeah.
2 million more
2
men.
million more. And I think most of those are coming from Plat Chat.
Why doesn't that convert into ad revenue?
Don't ask those
They
questions.
should. But you know what? I wasn't paid for this, but I actually used the code. I don't want to dox myself. But I actually exfoliate my balls. Not only that, I went through the shop. I was like, wait, they have deodorant?
Yeah.
So I got the deodorant too. It's the first time I'm opening it, actually. Smells like platinum. I love it. I'm going to start using this.
Wow, perfect. That was a great natural integration there, Vansilli. Good
job, Vance.
No, great job, everybody.
Good job, everybody.
Great job, everybody. Great job with the ad read. Great job with the ad read. All right. It's time to talk Valorant.
I like Valorant.
We did it last week.
Not bad. It's not bad.
Doing it again. Who was the best player?
Oh, did I send somebody in?
Just chaos immediately.
I think I got one out of you, Bren. Don't worry. There's something there. Don't worry. Do you want to just see what yours is? We'll just reveal yours.
Who was the best player?
No,
exactly.
Oh, yeah. Zek, you guys know Zekin.
I remember him, yeah.
You guys, he was great this playoffs.
Yep. You're right. I agree. You might as well pull mine up now too, Kurt, if you can.
No, you think Zekin's good as well.
I too think Zekin was the best player of playoffs week 2. I agree with Brennon.
The Red Bull and meds are kicking in.
Oh, dude, the pod's about to get crazy.
My dreams come back.
Yeah, I mean, I just think Zekin was far. I think he was the definitive best player of playoffs week 2 in the world. Played against, the reigning international champion team in the finals, crushed them, dropped like 100+ kills, was plus 40. I mean, like 4 agents played across the series. Yep. Even on, he's playing Sova on Ascent.
Roles.
I mean, all types of stuff. He popped off. All right, Josh, who do you got?
Well, I gave Kurt 2 because I said I'll go with Zekin unless everyone else has gone with Zekin because I think Zekin was the clear choice.
Okay.
But oh my God, I was watching Paper X and holy God, I'm in love. I'm in love. Okay, yeah. I used to appreciate Valorant. Now I love Valorant. Paper X have turned me into a believer. A believer.
In the what? Like the game itself? Its future as an esport?
Yes. because previously, there's like these slow defaulty rounds. And
Europe.
I'm watching EMEA, and I can appreciate the macro game, but get the fuck on with it, would you guys? And then suddenly tune into Paper X.
Yep.
Everyone's in now, all over the place. Rotates, fights happening, forcing duels, all over the place. And Jing up there at the front, bossing everybody, putting on an outrageous show. He's just spectacular. He's
pretty good.
Didn't we have a conversation like last year of being like, if everybody was going to play the face style and everybody's going to be schmeeging during Masters 1 or 2, was it? I can't even remember. Wasn't it going to be like a fear for Valorant if it was going to be too fast paced the way it is like Paper X played it?
I don't care.
My answer is no. It's great. I agree with you. I'm actually full whimsy with Paper X. It's fucking awesome to watch him play.
And I'm going to be really angry when people are able to duel Jing and stop him going for the crazy shit he goes for. Yeah. Copenhagen. No, I enjoy watching him play at APAC because he's just smurfing.
He's not going to stop doing it.
No, he's not.
He was double satcheling into ecos at fucking at Reykjavik.
Jing is going to kill Zekken on all 4 of his different agents.
Vansilli, who do you have?
I actually have cryo cells. The clear
cells.
favorite was going to be Zekken if you actually watch him in the grand finals too, but I don't think they would have made it to the grand finals if it wasn't for cryo cells the way that he played against FaZe. And that was the important match that allowed XSET to actually qualify for Copenhagen, and he played lights out. I think overall for the team, though, if you even look at the supporting cast, there was a lot like an honorable mention with BCJ with how he was playing Ascent. But overall, I do think that Cryo Cells is the one that really carried and propulsed the team to that victory that they needed there against FaZe to make it to Copenhagen.
It's crazy how Cryo and Zekken kind of swap roles within the team of carrying, because Cryo actually had a bit of a soft game in the grand finals, didn't pop off that much.
Yeah.
Everybody else did.
Getting first deaths quite a lot, and then in that game that you're looking at, he nearly broke the all-time kill record. He went fucking nuts. And Zekken had a little bit of a softer game, not like a terrible game by any means, but it's crazy when you have a 1-2 punch where either of them can pop off and you win. You don't need both of them to pop off, just one or the other.
Yeah,
correct.
Definitely. All right.
Not like a FaZe, Dicey, and Baby Bay all the time, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. I do want to acknowledge something, but this is the second week in a row. EMEA fans are going to be straight up molding. They're going to be looking less follicles than Durka, because Durka's not on this list. No EMEA players on the list. We did none last week either, Josh. No EMEA players picked 2 weeks in a row. I want to go into the EMEA hopium level check. I want to check where are the hopium levels at? Low,
with us,
medium,
or with the
high?
EMEA fans?
With us.
Oh, with us.
I want to check, dude. With us on the podcast.
I just thought you were looking to mock some fans.
That comes later. For now, I want to check in. Josh, right now, I want to mock you, okay? That's the idea of this segment is hopefully you are way too enthusiastic about EMEA and we can all point and laugh.
All right, where do you want to start? Because I'll give you some enthusiasm.
Okay, well, first, all right, I want to start, first of all, let's start third. We'll go with Guild. How are you feeling about Guild?
Of course you're going to start there. I'm excited that Guild made it to a major event, right? Let's just begin there. I'm excited that they made it. They've got some really good players that have never been to a big event before. I think it got confirmed this morning that Trex, even despite being a Russian player, is still going to be able to make it to Copenhagen. And Trex is a top 2 player on this team, along with Leo. I think Leo is a great player. This is actually Coldamenta being able to get deep results with 3 different teams now. Previously being with Ascend, G2, now with Guild. So, slept on IGL a little bit. But I don't think they're going to do too much, because the group stage is going to be outrageous. I didn't think about this too much until I was doing VOD reviews last night. And someone in chat said, we could have a group with OpTic, Loud, because Loud could still be in groups if KRÜ beat NIP.
Which is so ridiculous.
Which is absurd. So we could have a group with OpTic, Loud, DRX, and pick your 4th place team that you really like, but they would get fucked in that situation.
Yeah, it would be like Xerxes.
NORTHEPTION.
Yeah, or Xerxes, NORTHEPTION. I'm thinking Guild, because that's what we're discussing right now.
Guild, yeah,
if Guild are in a group with Loud, OpTic, DRX, bye-bye, night-night, you're not making that one through.
Yeah, that'll be funny.
So much of it comes down to just what group draw they get, but I think they're a fairly decent team, but they're not going to do damage, I don't think. I'd be blown away if they did. I'd really love it if they did, but I just don't think they're up to the task currently, but it's just a great achievement that they've been able to make it into the top. They also, their entire run, didn't beat anybody from the other group. They just continued to beat up on the same opponents.
Yeah, those groups are really balanced. really balanced groups there. Yeah. G2 are thrilled about what happened.
Not too much hopium. How do you want to do the hopium check?
Well, we can do, I mean...
The tank is not particularly...
I like Guild, and I was actually hoping for more in their playoffs run. Despite, beating up on the weaker group overall, I still saw on some of their maps, especially in that upper semi, I thought they were awesome against Mech in the upper semi.
Their Breeze and their Haven looked good.
Yeah, and off that, I was like, you know what? I went for I felt like there was possibility for them keeping it really close against Fnatic, taking a map, even winning an upset series because I knew that because they were going to ban Icebox. And I was kind of hoping for more from them, even though the maps against Fnatic were close. But then, worse than that, I think, was that they kind of just got blown out by FPX. I feel like they should have been capable of keeping that series a lot closer than they did.
Fill up the tank a bit. I think they were just saving strats for Masters.
Right, yes.
I like it, Vansilli.
Saving strats. They didn't want the better seed.
I mean, just wanted to save strats. Do they get a better seed at all from the Guild FPX game, though?
I mean, no, but they would have been in the final again.
Yeah, they would have been in the final again and had a chance, I suppose. But,
yeah, that's the game I'm referring to, where it was just kind of a blowout, and that's the kind of match where I feel like you're hoping for more from Guild, because I do think they have some pretty solid talent across the board.
They've got solid talent and solid ideas. The problem is, they're going up against teams that either have incredible talent or incredible ideas, and so they just end up being good enough to hang, but not good enough to win.
My Guild hopium is just meh. I like the team, and I actually wish that I hope they do well, because I like the team, and I think they have. But my hopium,
a lot of attention on EMEA.
Hopium levels, bleh. What do you?
Same.
Bleh. Hope. Where's your hopium?
Still better than FPX, though. I think if you want to listen to what's going on of like the rumors of them not being able to complete a full roster, right? That's what I'm trying to get to.
If FPX don't have their full roster, no hopium. I mean, it's just the unfortunate reality of a very fucked up situation.
I'm stuffed with hopium. I'm stuffed with
like 3 subs.
No, I'm stuffed with hopium that they can all make it.
Oh, okay.
I'm currently just hoping out of control because
I am praying for that.
Apparently, so there was a report that they told you who the 3 subs were. Doombros had already announced they had signed or like got in touch with and secured 3 subs as a last case scenario.
Yeah.
So it's Zeta, a Danish player, Masked, another Danish player, and then can't remember the name of the final guy who's Polish.
Starts with an S, I think.
What, sorry?
I think it starts with an S, if I'm not mistaken.
Sure. Let me just try and think of all the players I know that start with an S. I don't even know. I don't know Masked or the other guy either. They've pulled them from the actual depths. But apparently Zeta is signed, so he doesn't even count as a sub. He's just like a bench player kind of thing, which allows him to get around it. And they're pretty confident they can get Angel to the LAN. There is a law in the Ukraine, apparently, that people between the ages of 18 to whatever it is, 65 or something, if you're a man, you can't leave the country because you might be, required for the military because there's a war going on right now. Russia's invading. But there are exceptions to be made at the visa office for people who are like doing an athletic event or something. Yeah. So they're pretty confident they can get Angel there. The question is whether they can get Sugetsu and Shao. And they said that it was 50-50 for each of them. So I'm hoping.
Yeah, I'm fingers crossed, honestly, because it would honestly suck to not have FPX, the full FPX roster again at another global event. It just would. It would honestly suck. Okay,
the real hope, the big potential hopium though. Fnatic, Josh, where are you at? Where are you at with the Fnatic hope?
It's a good question. I've been going back and forth on this. Okay. Like a week ago, I was like, okay, either Fnatic or OpTic are probably going to be favorites for the tournament. And I thought, okay, I mean, OpTic, they've done it before. They've also made finals before. I mean, so have Fnatic a long time ago. But they look incredible in terms of how they're going through the groups. Yep. They lost to XSET. They had COVID at the time. They played a week combined. Okay. All right. From Fnatic's point of view, the more that I've been watching them, there's a few holes in their game, but they just have such outrageous talent on that team that they make up for it. They just make up for it in all regards. I'm very high on Fnatic. I'm not sure I can commit to them being the favorites for the tournament, but I'm super high on them. I think, for example, it's Durka's opportunity to prove that he's the best player in the world. I think that's one of my narratives coming into this as well, because that's what I thought about Durka heading into Reykjavik. He couldn't play. But Alpha, I guess it's just a question of whether or not he performs at LAN. I think that's the real big pivotal turning point as to whether or not Fnatic can convert this this crazy run that they've got.
Yeah, I'm feeling kind of the same way. They obviously have outrageous talent, but I've felt like in every match that they've played, so many non-Icebox maps against any of the other good teams in EU they've always been living on the edge, but they always get away with it just by a little bit because of the outrageous talent. But I think on those maps is where, you start to see some of the holes in the game.
Even when they played against Guild.
And when they played against Guild, when they played against FPX and they lost Ascent, and a lot of the other maps that are just really close, like 13-11s. And I think once they play against, your Louds and Paper Rexes and OpTics and Northeptions and those teams like that, I think that's where the trouble may lie.
I would argue that EMEA has more depth to it than the other regions. Like Loud beating on their region. Yeah, Loud, DRX, Paper Rex beating down on their regions. Fnatic have got harder competition in EMEA.
Fnatic definitely have harder competition than Brazil, Korea, and APAC, I would say, as well.
Yep.
But
did you just repeat what I just said?
No, I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you for those three regions.
Not in it.
But we're comparing it to international.
Yeah.
International is different because the international competition is definitely, at least as good as whatever the best region is at the time. In most circumstances.
But that's
at the end of the day, though, as well, we're talking about whether or not a team is looking flawless, right? That's the benchmark I'm comparing Fnatic to. Is do they look flawless, like they are going to come in and smoke the tournament? That's my measuring stick for Fnatic right now, which tells you how good they've been looking.
Yeah.
But I don't think they do look flawless, but they look really good. And it's not just Durka and Alpha yet. All of their players are in white-hot form.
Yeah.
I mean, the crazy form. Some of the player decision-making can get a bit wonky at times, and yet they still just grab a kill and make it work because all of their players are going bonkers currently. I've never seen Enzo play this well. Never. He was never this good. He's leveled up so much. Mystics on a heater. I want to see him translate it to LAN because I feel like that's where I've had a couple of concerns in the past. But otherwise, this team is in a serious honeymoon period, I think.
I don't know. I think if we're looking at the topic again of teams trying to be flawless, if you look at every other region, not every team looked flawless itself either. OpTic didn't win NA, and we still think they're the best team in the world currently, right? At least I do. Copium. Or Hopium. And then you're looking at, for example, Latin America, where KRÜ finally lost and Leviatán finally won, but even that matchup didn't look like the best team for KRÜ nor the best team for Leviatán. NORTHEPTION versus Zeta Division. Zeta Division didn't look like a Masters 1 Zeta Division from what I've watched against NORTHEPTION. So the term of flawlessness, at least within their own region, I think still looks really strong for a team like Fnatic. I think that we base it off what happened throughout the whole stage 2 from groups to playoffs till now to still think that they're going to do just fine and actually really good in the competition. My bigger question mark is, how is Alphayer going to do on his first stage? Young player right now, live crowd for the first time too. I think I'll mention that during the top 20 later on as well. But at least for the rest of the supporting cast of Fnatic, Enzo's already played under the system of Boaster. They already have that international experience for that main core for Fnatic. They know the expectation of what's to come against them, against the other teams. So I think they'll be prepared for that. And I think another big thing too, last one, is when they came into Masters 1, they also came in with 2 subs, right? With Hyber and with Enzo, where eventually Enzo became that main solo for the team. So the role swaps that they had too to put Boaster into controller, it fits him a lot better. He's able to IGL a lot better too. Mystic's able to play a great flex agent for the team as well. And I think that with a lot more reps is going to start looking even better and better coming into after boot camp at Masters 2. So I think I still have a very high hope actually for Fnatic in this tournament.
Yeah. They're an S tier team, but that's
agreed.
not what the community's talking about. The community's talking about, are they the favorites to win? So I think you just got to be like, you got to recognize what conversation you're having.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is. Yeah. I my hope is that they're like an S tier team. But
Period.
are they the favorite to win? I don't know. I don't think
teams.
I don't think my hopium reserves are not that full yet.
Is any team a favorite?
Maybe
I
not.
mean, I think you would make the favorites hierarchy. Try to place the percentages. The
OpTic,
odds.
Fnatic.
You're literally trying to do a power rankings episode off the top of your head.
This is me.
Save that content for next week.
Okay, sorry.
Save
This
that
is
content for
my
next week. We got to hook them. We got to hook the viewers
sorry,
next week, Bren.
sorry.
The hook this week is the
Stay
top
tuned.
20 player list.
Yep.
The hook next week is the power rankings. All right.
That top 20
everybody,
list.
everybody
Stay tuned for
everyone calm
Bren for
down. Yeah,
next
we're doing-
week. The first top 3.
We're doing the top 20 player power
hate it.
ranking later in this episode. They call it the hook, Josh.
Yep.
All right. How far can XSET go in Copenhagen? They finally have done it. They have broken the long and tenured fourth place curse narrative. They finished in first. I was about to say second. Sorry, they finished in first because they had lost to OpTic in the qualifying match, and then they ran it through the lower bracket, beat FaZe, came back, beat OpTic in the final. They get the first seed. They're in the top 8 automatically.
Yeah, I think they can make playoffs.
So they're definitely going to make playoffs. Good favorite for that, unless they just can't go to the event. That's the only thing that would stop them from making the top 8, is if they literally can't go for some reason. I'm going to assume they're going to be in attendance at the event, so they will at least be in the top 8. How far can they actually go in Copenhagen, though? Where are our heads at with that? Has that win over OpTic inspired massive confidence?
I don't think it's going to be... So some people were comparing the XSET winning the first seed as like a guard situation, where they were going to go into the first seed position, skip the groups, and it was going to be super disastrous for them.
Yeah.
I don't think that's going to be the case as much. There's a lot of veteran presence on that team, with Def and with Aaron as well, in terms of just the competition.
Crowd experience as well,
Crowd
actually,
experience
which is
as well.
unusual
Yep.
for some teams.
Exactly. But there are young players on this team that might suffer in a LAN environment for the first time. Maybe not with no crowds, but if they get to a crowd stage, I could see that they're going a bit skew. If you just don't know how those players will perform until you get into it.
And a reminder that the crowd stage is only for like top
Finals,
4.
yes, for top 4. So it's like getting to that point.
So you could get to a top... In fact, you could get to a top 3 position by making it to the upper finals and then bomb out in front of a crowd, and you would still get 3rd. So you can still make top 3 even if you hard choke in front of a crowd, which I think people aren't necessarily factoring in. They're just thinking playoffs equals crowd, but it's not exactly like that at Copenhagen.
Yeah. But I think they've shown enough depth and obviously skill as well, just on an individual basis, that without a doubt in my mind, they not only can they hold a candle against the other top teams, like if you're thinking like the theoretical top 8 teams that you might have going through into playoffs, but they absolutely can go far as well, assuming they keep up that consistent performance. Because Cryocells has had he always has a big step up when it comes to playoffs with the online stages, like stage 1, stage 2. He's always stepped up. But the question is, can Cryocells keep that going? Can Zekken keep that going? That's what I'm going to be thinking about with this team moving forwards into Copenhagen. Because those are the important elements. And I think some of that does probably come down to the veteran presence on the team, the guys of experience being able to help the younger players through it.
They're one of the most
get
grilled
4th.
teams at the event. I think if you think about the other teams that go via, like incredible fundamentals and teamwork, XSET have got to be up at the top of the list. If that was the only thing that
Do you
mattered.
think they have a bad matchup against teams that are just playing with full confidence?
I'm not sure. I mean, that's going to be a really interesting stylistic matchup to see them play against teams like Paper Rex, for example, or something.
Yeah.
But I think they're very good in terms of their spacing, their timings, their execs. They don't do anything mad, but what they do, they've really honed, and they do it excellently. And I think that's very solid underpinnings to ensure you have consistent results. They're not going to fluctuate wildly, unless, for example, one of their players that's in a really important position, like if Cryo, for example, in his Jett role on this map, or Zekken when he plays entry on another, really suffers and chokes in front of the pressure, then maybe that could make a difference. But I think the fundamental underpinnings of XSET are very good for a deep run.
Yeah. I actually went through my Doctor Strange style. I pulled out my green stone, and then I looked at all the scenarios of like XSET versus whatever team they may face off against in the playoffs once the groups are done. And I actually do think that against a team like Paper Rex, they might get caught off guard. I don't know if they're ready to play such an aggressive style. I think there's a potential flash in the pan of like just watching how BCJ played super aggressively and very confidently on Ascent when he's playing Omen. Okay, they may be like some sort of chance there. But when it comes down to like just the macros of it, having depth behind the lines and understanding how the other ones are going to play the defaults against EMEA teams, for example, I still think that they'll do just fine. Overall, just to go into the tinfoil analysis, I think they're just going to get 4th place because they finally break the curse of not getting 4th place anymore in North America. Now they get to on the next stage. Shit, we got 4th place now at the international stage, non-stop until 2023.
Honestly, 4th would be amazing.
I think 4th is it would be a good result, and also honestly, I don't think it's a far-fetched result that they come in 4th. I don't think that's unreasonable at all. I mean,
I think it's probably the most reasonable result. Actually, is like either
be 5th, 6th, or 4th. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking is probably the most likely outcome, which would be a good result. I mean, I think as long as they can even win one game, I think that's a pretty good result for them, honestly.
I'm just a counterpoint to XSET not performing well against an aggressive team, like that kind of matchup, is the fact that they managed to handle FaZe.
Yeah,
I think
that's
is the
true.
counterpoint to that.
But also, FaZe are nowhere near as good as Paper Rex are.
No.
They're not on the same
or NorthEption
level.
I mean, I can't wait to. This isn't the NorthEption.
I'm just taking a look back at the Reykjavik bracket right now to kind of see what a reasonable result would be, contrasting it to the prior setup. G2, for example, who got the top seed, beat Zeta Division in their opening before they'd really warmed up. They played a good game actually there to dismantle Zeta, and then they just lost to Loud and they lost to Paper X and they finished 5th, 6th. I could see a similar scenario happening to XSET, or I could see them going on like not necessarily a Paper X run, but more of like a even a DRX run where they beat out another top team and then they go out, where all of us are thinking at the end of it, damn, they played really well, but also we barely got to see them because they go straight through to the playoffs. I think they would look impressive if they got into groups. I think people would be excited if they went into groups and they started beating other teams there. But in playoffs,
though, there is a difference though. If they get 5th, 6th versus when G2 got 5th, 6th, G2 were coming in as like the number. I mean, they finished 1st for EU, didn't they? In the end, and
they finished.
I think also though, unfortunately, they kind of had the pressure of like because of the subs for the other teams and. EU not having a good showing on account of that.
They also finished second, but FPX couldn't
There was more expectation on them to be the EU representative and do well, and then they just were kind of in their 2 games that they lost.
And then get that vibe hanging out with them at the bar.
I think XSET will be a bit more, or there's not as much, I feel like there's just not going to be as much expectation on XSET. And
it's kind of nice, actually. They've got the playoff bracket, but everyone's looking at OpTic.
I mean,
I tell you, one thing we have mentioned every now and then is BCJ. When we were talking about the best player of the playoffs from last week, and honorable mention to BCJ. But if he continues his performance that he has in his last 2 matches that he's played, like if he can keep that going, dude, that is the extra element that I think pushes XSET to the next fucking level, because he was clutch as fuck. He was playing a multitude of roles. He's shit talking people.
Dude, he's shit talking stacks.
Yeah, he's shit talking stacks. He's such a funny player. But if he can keep up can keep up that play, that is the extra element I think that XSET need to be a top contender at this event.
BCJ said he would love to play against Stacks. Everyone says he's always the best initiator. I say, hell no. This guy's doing nothing special. I do believe me and Crashies are the best 2 initiators in the world by far. Wow. He's getting way too much credit from a worse region.
He's definitely wearing sunglasses.
Talk your smack.
That's pretty funny. Yeah, BCJ played really well. I think Def has been good the whole stage. He was winning out a lot of clutches in the last couple showings for the qualifying matches. I think I have a reasonable level of XSET hopium. I think that fourth is not an unreasonable finish. And I think even if they made it that far, I mean, I suppose it kind of depends on who they're playing. But I think that they could make it about that far. But I think the caveat is you're probably going to need either the Zekken or the Cryo performance of the level that they gave against the Cryo did against FaZe and then Zekken did against OpTic. Otherwise, I feel like if we're getting the group stage XSET, that's more of like the 5th, 6th finish. But if one of those guys is
or
in
maybe
that,
just going out as well.
Yeah, or possibly just, if they get the wrong end of the bracket, they could just go out in 2. But if one of those guys is in that form, I think that's where you can get the 5th, 6th, 4th kind of finish, which I think would be good.
Like the second place that makes it out of groups is still a very strong team, right? If you're looking at the potential DRX or Xerxia or FPX, Fnatic, or not Fnatic, but you guys catch my drift. Like that second place coming out of groups to play against XSET is still a very, very hard opponent to.
XSET's kind of hoping that one of the groups is unfair. Like XSET are kind of hoping that OpTic, Loud, DRX are all in the same group so that they can knock each other out.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there are some of the teams that I feel like are going to be rated above them. They could beat. Yeah. They could reasonably beat. Like
God,
Fnatic, honestly.
What if,
Just give me XSET
what if it ends
DRX.
up with OpTic being second out of their group again and they go up against XSET in the first round?
I mean, that could definitely happen.
That definitely could happen. It depends on if Xerx is in their groups. If Xerx is in the group, that is going to happen. It's simply the inevitability. Speaking of OpTic, though, have our feelings on them changed at all, given what we watched over this past weekend? Finishing in second place. Obviously, the expectation is that they're just going to win everything because they won Reykjavik and they look like they've continued that form into the stage. They're playing very well throughout the groups. They had the one loss against EG. They finished in second. Also, there's a caveat of the players having 3 of the players having COVID and not, that obviously negatively affecting their play. Have our feelings changed on OpTic? Has this changed anything for you, Josh, or is it just that doesn't matter? They're still a favorite.
The problem is, I want to say no because they had COVID and it's a seeding game, etc., etc. But I actually think yes, it has changed something a little bit, and the reason it's changed it a bit is that despite OpTic being defending champions and looking fantastic all throughout the group stage and having COVID, etc., etc., the actual map strengths are starting to show cracks. For example, their Haven comp that they've been running for ages with a couple of different tweaks. They decided to run a Raze at one time, and I think they shifted an Initiator at some point as well. They just can't defend against comps like the one that XSET is running here. This composition looks amazing on attack, but XSET didn't even let them play on attack. They just 1 pistol, 1 bonus. That's it. That's done. You can't mount any kind of comeback. And it's not like XSET are running something off meta, some crazy counter strat. They are running an extremely good version of the, standard meta comp on Haven. I mean, there's like 3 different meta comps on Haven, but one of them being the triple flash Jett comp. And OpTic's comp just can't deal with it. And it's not just that they had COVID. It's that the game plan doesn't work around stopping site hits like that. They just can't break the Jett away from the others. They can't try and isolate or anchor sites. They, I guess, have to play like full retake most of the time, but they weren't going for it, and it didn't look great when they were trying it. So
I'll throw them a bone.
I feel like this is rough. And also the Neon Unbind, I really didn't like. And so I feel like they need to be altering still. As a team, if you want to win Masters Copenhagen, you still need to be evolving. You still need to be changing your game plan. Everyone's looking at OpTic. And I think I'm slightly concerned they might end up with some off adaptations because it's not like everything's worked from OpTic. This Neon Combine didn't work. When they tried the Neon on Ascent, it wasn't looking great. The Yoru on Ascent worked for one game, wasn't replicable. What else did they try that was a bit dodge? They tried something else that was weird. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, the point being, they're not perfect, and they're going to be coming into a bracket where they have to shift, and it's all about whether they make the right adaptations, I think. And they have to go through a whole group stage. It really has kind of shifted things a little bit for me.
Oh, Marv waiting for the flash that never came. Just staring at the corner of the wall. I think you bring up some good points, Josh, but I don't know. I think the sheer force of will carried them over the finish line to make it the champs against XSET the first time around. And then when I'm watching them play in that finals, I feel like some of the players are like, finally I can rest. You know what I mean? Like I've made champs. We're just resting from this point on. Because in the interview, they were saying that FNS was coming, and sometimes he was saying during rounds that he couldn't breathe.
That was in the upper finals.
This is in the upper finals when they were really fucking trying to win because it meant that they would go to champs. And I think after that, you put your everything into making it to that finals in stage 2. Considering the circumstances, I think it's a bit normal that they would have a bit of a drop off.
That's why I don't care about the form of the players or anything like that.
But you're talking comps.
I'm just talking their strategy
You're
coming
so
into it.
Nerdy.
But to me, that's the big thing that you can take away is, are OpTic still ahead of the meta? Are they still pushing the meta forwards? Right? Like, because they were the team that was doing that.
Yeah.
They're not at the moment. They're trying and they're figuring out different avenues.
I think that's kind of a leap to take from playing some different stuff in the final and losing. I mean, that doesn't invalidate that
They were the best team on Bind in the world. They've now lost Bind back-to-back twice, and on the most recent one being a weird composition. Their map pools looked amazing with the reintroduction of Breeze, but I think now you have to ask questions about their Haven that used to be up at the top of the pool as well. You know what I mean? Like, a couple of weeks ago, I would have said to you, OpTic's map pool is insane. I mean, they are clearly a favorite.
That's kind of my point when you're saying that they're no longer the meta leaders. So that, I mean, they were the meta leaders like the day before the finals, and then they were no longer the meta leaders after the final.
No, I think 2 weeks ago, before playoffs, I would have said that. But I think when you watch the other regions as well, I just don't think it's
leading the meta up until they just lost the final. Listen. I have seen Neon on Bind, I think maybe like 3 or 4 times now, and I don't think it's a coincidence that the team with the Neon lost every game that I've seen with a Neon on Bind. Seriously, I'm pretty sure it would be a game that I haven't watched, but of all the games I watched with the Neon on Bind, that team always
Did DRX
loses.
win with Neon on Bind? Because DRX with Neon, I mean, they don't have as crazy competition as every other region.
Yeah,
but
I mean,
that looked pretty good. They had a fade in there as well, which helped into like that double stun combo that they were getting. But I kind of like agree with Wyatt and with Bren too. Is like, if you're looking at, you know, the reintroduction of Breeze and seeing Victor on Jett, it actually looked really damn good. And Victor could still have that consistency that people were maybe trying to say that he didn't have at some point anymore. And then we were really relying on Ye getting those first bloods for the team. But I feel that they're in the same and similar boat as like an FPX, where they have that vision that they have to be the forerunners of being able to test out the meta. But if you're going to try different things and you don't have that many reps to try it out in, and the only events or the matches you could try it in are literal quote unquote seeding matches at official tournaments, you have to try it out at some point and you see what works or doesn't work. NRG did the same thing when they were during the regular season. When they realized that Euro didn't work for them on Haven, they went back into what was a little bit more comfortable for them, and we saw a deeper run for NRG in that event, in that stage. So I think you're going to have something very similar for OpTic at this point of being like, okay, cringe comps, we got to come up with something new. We got to figure out what we could use that's going to be out of left field and see in prod if it works well, or prod rather. And if it doesn't work, then I think they could go back to the regular comps. And if it's the regular comps, then it's just ironing out what has been figured out. Like, for example, you just mentioned the Bind here, Josh. If they've been undefeated like 9-0 since Iceland, but then finally got beaten by EG, which showed like the reason why they changed the comp and wanted to try something new with the Neon, that doesn't work. What do you fix? What do you fix now on your Bind's original comp that didn't work out against EG and prep that for Masters 2?
Yeah.
So I think they have a lot of time to be able to do that as well.
And I'm not saying it's impossible for them to do it. I'm just saying that they run the risk of trying different stuff in groups and you know, taking one loss in groups, and then they get a harder bracket, and it all kind of could snowball a little bit off the back of that. And again, I want to make it clear I'm using a similar measuring stick here to Fnatic, where I'm talking about them. Are they the favorites to defend again and be the first back-to-back Masters winners? That's the measuring stick that I'm using for OpTic, because they've looked so fucking good. We also had a super chat from Patante that I thought was a really good point, actually. That saying, even barring COVID, they've always been a stable team. They've never been an unbeatable team. Even when they won Reykjavik, they lost twice. They lost to Xerxia, they lost to Loud in the upper finals. Like, they've always had, like, they've never been like a perfect team, but they've been able to win when it mattered in order to get themselves deep into tournaments and go on runs and stuff like that. So,
yeah,
I think it's...
Their average level is so high, and then when you get, like the game where when you get the games where Victor is also just getting a kill on every single entry, like he's always finding the first kill, or Ye is having one of those games, that's when you're just in like unbeatable territory. But their standard level is very high, but yeah, it is, beatable because the competition is quite excellent at this point, and that is the risk they run by losing this game and now being in the group, is that I don't think it's unreasonable that they could get knocked out in the group. There is a world where that happens, and then immediately it's Reykjavik was a fluke. Which would be stupid, but the competition is so high, and the way that the groups could line up, that is possible. I mean,
they could
if
be
the group is like Loud, Xerxia, and NORTHEPTION or something, like that's they could lose that, and they run the risk of just having to win so many games now to do the repeat. They have to win 2 extra games over the teams that are in the playoff bracket, and that's a lot of work. That's a lot of additional work.
The good thing about OpTic is that whenever they lose, though, they come back with a vengeance, and they perform very, very well. They learn from their mistakes really, really quickly. So if you're looking at their run for Stage 2 in North America, when they actually lost, it was like the only way that they could lose. It's like a BO5 Grand Finals. There's no repeat on that because there's no bracket reset. And I think Loud got into that same scenario where in Masters 1, they looked amazing until the Grand Finals. Unfortunately, they had to face off against OpTic, who learned from their mistakes, but Loud didn't have a chance to learn from their mistakes, and then the loss resulted in just OpTic winning the whole event too. So if you have that opportunity to be able to go through this double elimination bracket, especially now with OpTic going into groups, instead of like skipping everything and going straight into playoffs, I think you're seeing the same scenario as well for OpTic. I think they'll be confident and just fine.
They're just setting up the best repeat Masters victory of all time.
Exactly.
The first one also,
the
but
best
the best
arc.
one.
The best arc.
I'm gonna chime in here real quick. I've been browsing Twitter real quick, and it seems like FNS and a few others were still battling COVID on their second matchup.
Definitely.
And it seemed like it was 2 days later, the second time around. So I think that plays a huge factor into it. So
we were talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, just to take it back to the general thing, my thoughts haven't changed. I still have them at the top of the list to make it, to possibly win again.
I think another thing as well is the last point I'll make on this is just the experience they've had in playoffs. There's a lot of teams at this event with experience playing in these playoffs, but I think the mentality diff is definitely there with OpTic. I think if you listen to the comms piece of their finals in Reykjavik, the guys are just they were cool, calm, and collected. These guys, they were, I don't know, it was like a different team.
It was a completely different team compared to the finals when they played against Mech. And they just looked scrambled. I mean, that's the power of experience right there.
Yep,
for sure. I want to talk about the rivals of OpTic, and I don't mean Xerxia. I'm talking about Loud, which it's funny that when you talk about like the OpTic rival, people, I guess because it's funny that it's Xerxia because they beat in the group stage, but it's actually Loud because they played in the upper final. Loud took that, and then OpTic come through the lower after beating Zeta, and then win Reykjavik in 3-0 fashion against Loud. Since then, Loud have gone on to not drop a map in Brazil and not really lose many rounds either. I mean, winning 13-0s, the closest game they had was when they let Split through, which is their ban.
This was pretty close as well, the finals.
Well, I mean,
the finals had some moments where it was close, but they weren't actually in danger of losing.
They
could have let Haven Fracture run away from them, I guess, but
I mean, in the upper final, they smoked.
They smashed, man.
I mean, they just they've not been in danger, except this is the only map that got close, and they don't play the map.
Yeah. They let it through.
And they still won. So, yeah, I mean, Loud have just been flattening the competition.
They are
flattening since Reykjavik.
No doubt in my mind that this team is still one of the favorites to win Copenhagen. There's probably going to be some people trying to pick apart the argument by being like, well, you know, you're disregarding some of the other, like the one-team regions where they are smashing their opponents. The difference is, Loud have actually fucking proven it recently at Reykjavik. They've actually, they went the distance, they went to the finals, they look like a team that can compete with the very best of the best. And I think even at the beginning of Reykjavik, they said, like, they were talking about their goals, and their goals were like champs. Their eyes are set on champions. Not even Reykjavik, not Masters 2, not any of these global events that are coming beforehand. They're using these as opportunities to have learning moments and improve as a team for the end goal being champions, which I think is that's a killer mentality. You don't want to go up against a team like that because the pressure is off their shoulders to a degree. I'm not going to say that they can be completely without the responsibility of trying to win, but that's a dangerous team that you're up against. That's a team that's focused on. They've got their fucking Twitch stream title as losing equals learning, and they're going on a tear.
See, my exact feeling on Loud, Josh, is what you had just said about they were then Envy when they lost to Gambit at Berlin and they lost 0-3 in the final. That they got the experience and they can come back, you know, next time and with that experience perform better. And, you know, there was kind of I feel like it was sort of a similar story to some extent, too, in that at Berlin, Envy were just smoking everyone. And then in the final, Gambit just kind of, you know, had a relatively, I'm not going to say an easy victory, but, you know, it was a convincing win. It was a convincing Gambit win.
And they won on their permaban, the same way that OpTic did against Loud.
The same thing. I feel like it's the same thing for Loud. And I think you could kind of see it as well, like, I remember Bala making the point that I also agree with, that was like, you know, at some point at Reykjavik, all of the Loud players, and crucially the players who had not yet played at an international event, you know, the young players like Les Auspice, they had their moments where they proved throughout the tournament that they can be god-tier players at LAN. They just did. Specifically, I think maybe more so less than Auspice, because Auspice was a demon in the finals on all the maps. But I think for some of the other guys, you know, maybe getting that experience and finding that high level more consistently through having the experience of now, you know, playing that final and losing. If they can now have the consistency at this event, I think that's one of the keys. I mean, also since then, you know, they were one of the first teams to really integrate the fade. Saucy has been playing a whole lot of the fade. And I also kind of feel that there's a similar situation with Saucy for sure, and now Pankata, where like both of them online haven't really had to do much. They're just they're great support players, and they're just supporting, and they haven't really had to do much, even though, you know, they still have their moments of like, they still have crazy individual skill, but they haven't had to have huge impact in regards to their ability to frag, because you have Les playing a lot more chamber now, and you have Auspice playing a bit more chamber. And so that has provided both of them with map opportunities to just be in carry mode.
Something that Loud were a bit behind the meta on.
They weren't playing a lot of chamber there either. And
Les was Cypher playing a lot still back.
And Sadak has also kind of been in god form on the initiator, like his Sky and KO and stuff. So I still think Loud they have a great chance to win. They're up there at the very top with, you know, the S tier teams still. Does anyone feel differently, similarly? What are you thinking, Josh, after watching Loud and beating Nip?
I mean, my concern with Loud only comes down to what the map pool looks like against truly top tier international competition. Because the problem is with these teams, but with both Loud and DRX, neither of them have dropped a map on the entire way, and they've played every map. So it looks like they have a perfect, unbelievable map pool. They can play everything. And we thought that sucked to some degree heading into Reykjavik 2, and then it turned out that Loud actually only managed to get wins on 3 of the maps out of their entire pool at Reykjavik. They still made it all the way to the grand finals by winning very consistently on Ascent, Icebox, and Breeze, I think it was. And their bind still looked all right, but they weren't able to, get over the line against the best teams in the world. So that to me is the big question for Loud, is which of their maps are elite and which of their maps are good? Because when I'm watching the Fracture improvements, for example, they look so much better on Fracture. They were pretty shit on that map before, and they were still able to win a lot of the time in Brazil. But now they've added less on Chamber, and they're playing a very meta comp, and they understand how it works. I'm still not sure it's going to be able to beat the best teams in the world on Fracture. People like Fanatics and Paper X's and OpTic and stuff like that. But that to me is a big question. Are the improvements that Loud has made to their map pool enough to win those maps against the other best teams in the world? Because that, I think, is going to push them over the line. If they can replicate the all-roundedness that they've shown in Brazil, but against everyone, then that's just insane. They're going to go on a run and they're going to be able to win. But it's hard to tell which maps they are dominant on because they're just dominant in Brazil right now.
Yeah, definitely. Especially when you compare them to like OpTic, who have worked Breeze into their pool, and then if they go against Loud, you're going to assume Loud will just ban Split, and then theoretically you're getting 3 maps that OpTic are okay with. Because there's a good chance Loud are going to play against Fnatic. I'm just expecting these teams to be all deep in the bracket. If they play against Fnatic in a BO3, Loud are crazy on Icebox. I think they're one of the couple teams that could beat Fnatic on it. But you still don't want to play Fnatic on Icebox. They just don't lose on that map. Yeah. So you still don't want to have to do it, and they're going to have to.
None of the top teams
could beat them on it. They were good on it, but Fnatic are amazing on the map.
None of the other title contenders at Copenhagen have Split as their go-to map. So Loud are never banning the best map for their opponents.
Right.
They're always going to be banning a middle pool for their opponents, and that's why I'm bringing up the map pool so heavily, is because I feel like that could be the thing that ends up holding them back from the trophy or from making, the finals appearance again.
Split's not, oh, wait, no, I'm thinking of Champs. Never mind.
Yeah, that's LCQ and Champs. It goes to Pearl.
Is it LCQ? I don't think so.
Oh, is it after LCQ?
No, it might just be
I think it's after LCQ.
It's just Champs.
Either way, they're playing Split here. And I agree with your point, Josh. I think that might end up being the thing if they're not able to win, if they finish in second again or third. It might end up being maps. That might end up being the problem. Yeah,
which is mad because they have 100% win rate on all of the maps.
Yeah, I mean, it is quite ridiculous. But yeah, it is just a situation where you're right though. The other teams, if they're banning Split, that's just not even a map that the other teams are like trying to play.
XSET is the only team.
Sure.
Are they title contenders though? I mean, against they could be, but against all of the other, the teams that we've got in the S tier, Split ban doesn't do too much.
Right.
I still think that Loud has a good chance though, because this is a current meta that fits this team quite well. I think when you're looking at Sussy and Sadak, when they were talking about their first time at Masters in 2021, they're like, yeah, we don't really want to play an Astra, try to keep an Omen and try to feel things out and play our own style. But now, as you're looking at the group stages for stage 2 in Brazil, there's been a lot more of that meta integration you're talking about, Josh, right? So when you're looking at Les not having to play a Cypher, going to play a Chamber on Fracture, he's getting some good numbers out of it. Raze gets a lot of value in this meta right now, but I think one thing that's super important too, with Menchaca not having to play an Astra and could play a Brimstone very well, it's the the integration of Fade that Sassy does. So Sassy bringing in that Fade is going to help into the rest of the players that are super comfortable on these roles that they're always playing and not having to be playing an agent that's out of their comfort zone. So I think now that you're going to be able to play that level of comfort and already had the fragging ability that you currently have in your region, I think it can look very, very strong when you already had a deep run in Masters 1 for this team. The only one, and I think it's just going to look pretty good. I mean, Aspas now has its experience from like that stage 1 going into this one too, and man, this is going to be super fun to watch Loud move forward.
They've got to root for NIP. I mean, it would be really annoying if they ended up in a group stage with OpTic again as well. So I mean, fucking NIP need to win that game.
Please, NIP, NIP, please. All right, I'm excited for this one because I think we have very different opinions.
There's a relevant super chat.
We have a relevant super chat. I love relevant super chats.
All Neru sent in $3.93 and said, "What do you think about Zeta losing and NORTHEPTION going to Copenhagen? Despite Zeta has a lot of point. I am not going to watch Championship because Zeta lost."
First of all, This is
That's so sad.
Very
That's
sad.
very
This
sad.
is so sad. Zeta looked pretty awesome. I was on the Zeta hype train. I mean, I still am on the Zeta hype train. But Northeption, they managed to beat Zeta in the final, the match that mattered most, on the stage in front of a crowd of what could have been 2 million. There were so many people there. And they managed to beat them in quite convincing fashion after losing the first time in the bracket.
Yeah.
And first of all, Northeption are so fucking fun to watch. they are one of the most fun teams to watch. That was of all the games I watched this weekend, that was the one I enjoyed the most. They are just 24/7 running around. I mean, they are just playing with ultra whimsy, ultra speed. Sometimes on some maps, I think to their detriment at times. Specifically, the first one on Icebox.
Yeah,
I think.
But that was isn't Icebox their permaban? I think it
maybe, but
I think it is. That's the reason why they were playing like maniacs.
I mean, they were just hitting. They hit A 9 times with a fast hit on Icebox.
Yeah.
They were just straight running it. Josh, how do you feel about Northeption?
Start just talking about Icebox to begin with. That's Northeption's permaban, which is why they were approaching it with so much outrageous whimsy, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was the perfect style for it, in my opinion. They play without a Sage, they play Jett KO, and they're pushing you all the time, which is exactly how you need to play a Sageless Jett KO comp on Icebox. I think they played to their win conditions. They played really aggressively. They forced duels, and they beat the piss out of Zeta Division. so that I was really impressed by, especially on their permaban map.
Yeah.
But when I watched Northeption this week, I made sure to also watch the upper final where they lost to Zeta 0-2. And it's clouded my opinion of Northeption a little. But there's so much to unpack there, because in the upper final, it was their first time playing in front of the live crowd. And it was half capacity, but that's still 12,000 people. For the first time playing in front of a live crowd, they were playing in front of 12,000 people. And Wyatt, I've never seen such awful Valorant gameplay in my life. They hard, unbelievably Omega choked. I'm talking worse than the Japanese games we were watching a year ago. Like, choke. Like, a minute on the clock going over the fracture rope, just silently dying. Like, outrageous stuff. But I don't think that's normal for Northeption. I think that was just they got completely rattled by the live crowd and shit the bed. So when I watched the finals again, they just played with so much more confidence.
That's what I mean. They turned it around, no?
They did. They turned it around. They absolutely did.
I feel like that's promising.
That is promising, and they have the live crowd experience now as well.
Confidence in that final.
Yeah.
I mean,
incredible.
The way they were playing, the speed, their willingness to take fights, but it wasn't just like the willingness of individuals to take fights. The trades were just fast and furious. They were just relentlessly fighting Zeta. They just never gave them a second to breathe. They were just on them constantly. Like, this is one of they won this crucial eco round on defense here on Icebox. I mean, Meteor is just playing this cheeky position with the short. He gets up close, but the way that they're just you have like Zinfree is just insta swinging from rafters. He had the KO Jojo behind him, and they're just swinging in. They're just finding the picks. This is just the story of like every round of play. Like, they never gave Zeta a break. They were just on them constantly, and the individual skill is crazy high. I was pretty blown away by how they were playing under those circumstances in the finals, where you have the huge crowd, tons of pressure. You got one spot for Copenhagen, and they were playing with crazy confidence at that point.
I think it helped that they were playing their permaban to begin with, because they were so frozen up and scared and making awful mistakes in the upper final. They come into the grand final, they've already lost once, and they're playing on their permaban to begin. You just have to send it.
Look at the stuff that they're doing. Like, they're going out drop with like the neon. The Bren throws down the stimmy, and the whole team is just 4 of them running through fracture spawn. I mean, Dep's just like, dude, what the fuck? There's like 4 of them chasing. He's just running.
We should start doing that. We should start doing that.
But they also they
crazy.
started attack side on this fracture, and in the upper bracket finals they started on the defense side as well. And they in the combined fracture games that they played, they went something like 4-11 on their defense side, and their attacks still looked good in the upper final, even when their defense looked shaky. So I think they look incredibly good at attack side fracture, but when I'm contrasting it to how Paper X play a very similar style, the double duelist, Raze, Neon.
Yeah.
It's only the difference is only in the controller, but Paper X are god tier at the defense. I mean, like seriously god tier. Whereas Northeption looked very flat on their defense side. So the games that I've watched of Northeption, I'm not convinced yet, because their win was 1 on their permaban that they're not going to be playing again, particularly, unless they flesh out Icebox again. And 2 was on Fracture, where I've seen one of their sides be really, really poor. So and on Haven, they got smoked, but that's mostly because Zeta Division
Zeta's
are ultra
Haven
god
is
tier on
so
Haven.
good. Yeah.
I mean, Zeta Division are like
god tier.
world class on Haven.
Yeah.
But I came away from this. Their Ascent was also pretty successful with a very unusual composition, playing Chamber Killjoy. They've got enough weird stuff to catch teams off guard. Not sure they have enough good stuff to go on a deep run, because I don't know how deep their map pool looks. I don't know whether they're going to be able to win on Fracture if their defense looks terrible. I don't know how that weird Ascent comp is actually going to work on the big stage.
See,
I'm not sure about this team.
This pistol round here for Northeption is actually quite cool, because they're the type of team, as just like Icebox, are able to just send it down. So like getting this person on mid, breaking the alarm bot, and then pulling the rotation off Garden, so they push towards tree. Now you cut 2 different types of fights. Everybody's swinging on 1v1s, and then you're crunching into back spawn from mid and from Garden. Like, those are the type of things that, even if it looks whimsical, of like you have to be 5 players to send it into Icebox, I still think that was calculated, because I feel that because the composition for Zeta Division, I kind of feel like they outplayed themselves too, playing double initiator with no flashes. That's for me how they had a hard time getting more attacker rounds on Icebox. But when you're going to have to send it in against the 5 players on Northeption, one timeout that they had, which was like, let's just start sage walling and throw slow orbs into the A site when you're getting hit by a KO knife, and then have those players just filter in through the other side of the wall. That's where you started to see some good fights from Zeta Division and coming back into the game. That map on Ascent, there was a great start from Northeption on the attack, but it still finished on a 7-5 on the half, because after a timeout, they're like, well, they're only getting early mid control, but not really using the mid into like really effectively. They're fighting more towards the extremities. And then Zeta Division, for 5 rounds in a row, just started working towards mid and pushing into mid and running it down against Northeption. And then Northeption was actually not getting an answer out of that. So if teams are trying to figure out, like, if we have to play as fast and aggressive as they are, I think that Northeption is just going to get they're just going to fumble the bag. So again, playing a team against like Paper X, for example, if Jing and Forsaken are going to run it against you the way that they do when we're going to talk about them later, I don't think that Northeption has a chance to be able to fight back in the same way. I love that they've beaten Zeta Division. I love that they've gotten the hype, because even in the stage 1 qualifiers, it was a whole different roster, but they still had a deep run with that previous roster. So the scouting and the coaching from Bale shows that they're doing a good job to implement a system that could show some great success for Northeption in the long run. But at least for now, it's like, okay, the pressure of the crowd, that's not going to happen during Masters. That's great. But I still don't think that in the mid round or like the mid game of the series, they have a chance to really hold it down and close off a series against it.
2 things.
Okay.
The bar is set where Zeta put it, rather than expecting that from Northeption, I think.
Sure.
So
you mean that's an unfair expectation?
Yeah, rather than expecting Northeption to have to repeat what Zeta did, I think that's where the bar should be set. And if they reach that, then fuck me, that's incredible. You know what
Amazing,
I mean?
yeah.
Compared to whatever. But they need to keep the confidence up that they showed in the finals. They've got the crowd experience, which really should work for them. They need to make the improvements that Zeta Division made over the course of Reykjavik. The kind of, they lost. There's a lot of teams that at that precipice. I'm thinking like, for example, Vivo Keyed at Champs. some teams that show promise, they lose. They either fucking bounce back and they'll go on a run, or they will crumble. And Zeta didn't choose to crumble. Zeta bounced back and went on an absolute tear.
Yeah.
NORTHEPTION, I think, need to keep up a kind of similar mentality, I guess.
Which they did in this bracket as well.
Yeah, they did.
They got punched in the mouth and they came back.
They went fucking crazy. So this bodes well, I think, for them to be able to do that. But also, one of the biggest strengths for them is that confidence, and also the biggest weapon they're going to have coming into this is also teams maybe underestimating them to a degree as well. And if they can cook up some of those fancy pistol rounds like we just saw on Ascent, if they can shore up their fractures so that their defense side looks better, this is a team that could do some serious damage.
I think the pistol round strats in particular can be a massive boon. There aren't many teams that have structured pistol rounds to the same degree as NORTHEPTION. It was a clear strength to me when I was watching the team. And I think that's the kind of stuff where you can put in the prep work and immediately start seeing results against even the best teams in the world.
And it just makes the half so much easier.
It does. But there's such a I love that they've got the crowd experience. It's such a long road to get to the crowd, man. They have to make top 4 before they even get to benefit from the crowd experience that they've got under their belt. And it's such a long road to get there.
I mean, the other side of the coin is just that, they have played at a higher stake environment, or a higher pressure environment than the group, so that should theoretically not be as...
That's how the Garden EG did so well, playing at the complexity facility and enabling the fake crowd, and then it just had great runs during the stages.
I have extreme NORTHEPTION hopium. I think that if they play at the quality that they did in that final, I think they can go as far as Zeta.
Really? You think they can make top 3?
Yeah.
So you think...
I think that, I think the player...
There's Fnatic,
I think
OpTic, the Paper X, Loud... they're going to beat one of those teams and get... They're going to beat 2 of those teams and get into 3rd place. There's only going to be 2 teams above them.
Even NORTHEPTION versus XSET, you could probably take NORTHEPTION over XSET.
Yeah, NORTHEPTION would have to be above.
If they're playing,
above XSET,
if they're playing,
OpTic.
If they're doing what I saw in the final, I think they can do as well as Zeta did at Reykjavik. I think they can finish in the same spot. The player quality, the game style, the teamwork. I'm on the NORTHEPTION train.
I'm not turning anything upside down this time.
That's fine.
I'm doubting. I don't think they're going to make it out of groups.
You don't think they're going to make it out of groups?
I think if they get an unfortunate group,
that's also fucked. Listen. It depends on the group, but but so we shall see. But
the easiest group that they could get would have Guild, Xerxia, NIP, something like that. I mean, I would expect them to be able to,
I don't even. Is that even a possibility as a group to have like 3 second place teams?
Are they hat pulling? Are they hat pulling that shit? Like they do usually.
I don't think they're seeded particularly, because the first seeds just make it through to the bracket. So isn't everyone just kind of in a lump in the groups? Honestly, I don't know, but I'm expecting there could be a massive difference between the easiest group you could get and the hardest group you could get. I'm probably not exactly right with what that group could look like, but there's certainly a world where they get a very easy group and they're expected to go out of it. But I think an average level group, I think the competition's just too good this time.
I don't know.
I think the competition's a lot better than Reykjavik.
I think there are a lot of teams that they could just flatten if they go up against them. Again, if they play how they played in that final against Zeta, I think there are a lot of teams at this event that they can completely flatten. And if they go up against some of those, I think they could make it quite far. And I think that they have extreme... I don't even know if it's upset potential, because I think Zeta are a sick team. And I was really impressed with Zeta throughout their bracket run. And
do you
fact
think
that they beat them in that fashion, I think is pretty damn impressive.
Do you think over the course of the whole bracket, NORTHEPTION was a better team than Zeta?
Over the course of the whole bracket?
Yeah, because that's the question I'm struggling with. Is
probably no.
I don't think that whether
does
they
that
were.
matter does that matter if their form is hotter than Zeta at the end of it? They have the crowd experience. They don't have the nerves. And they can play in that in the form
if they can play in that form, it doesn't matter.
That's my big thing. If they're playing in that form, there are, if they go against a team that even has 1% of a nervousness, they are going to flatten them with their game style. I mean, the way, again, just the relentless aggression, it's not even like it was an aggressive style they were playing, but it was to the extent that like the Zeta players are just constantly, they're just getting fought from different angles constantly. They're always getting swung on. You just never have it's like you don't even feel safe to like Sugar Zero is never going to want to go into astral form again, okay? Because every time there's just someone ready to kill him. I mean, they are just, the pace they play at is just pretty mental. Speaking of pace that they play at being mental, let's talk about Paper X, because, I mean, these are like, I think, probably the two of the most entertaining teams to watch right now in their game
style. If NORTHEPTION did a line, they'd be Paper X.
I mean, Paper X are just bananas. It's the, on the surface, you get the Forsaken and Jing show. Forsaken's going to play Yoru. He's going to play Jett. Jing is going to play Raze. He's satcheling everywhere. They're getting crazy kills, left, right, and center. They're just storming through the bracket. They crushed Xerxia in the grand final for the first seed 3-0. Paper X look like they are also just in a hot form right now. Josh, I know you love them.
Oh, I'm off the goop. I'm utterly just sunk in goop. We're doing a top 20 list later on.
Yeah.
I put Forsaken and Jing very high. I watched more Paper X, and I thought, oh fuck, I've underrated them. And they are really high on my list. And I don't stand by my list, by the way. It's shit. But I got the feeling I actually had to go back and watch Paper X lose at Reykjavik to get a dose of reality. I watched the Paper X VODs recently, and I was like, holy fuck, they're winning Copenhagen. And I thought to myself, no, take a moment,
hold on,
go back and watch how they lost. And I watched the map where they lost. I watched the bind loss to DRX, and Paper X are a lot better than they were back then. They're a lot better than they were back then. But crucially, DRX were really good at winning duels when Jing and Forsaken take unfavorable fights. No one in APAC can do that.
Yeah.
No one in APAC can kill Forsaken and Jing when they run at them.
There are players, you see constantly there are moments where like a defending player, or who, it doesn't even matter. They're holding the angle. The crosshair is placed, and they're ready for them to swing. And Forsaken will
I think
swing
it's Bren's turn to talk.
Can you pull up the Jing? I'm trying to talk, but it's just been a two-man.
I just love
this guy fucking gushing over Paper.
I just love him.
The Jing TikTok clip that I pulled.
There's a TikTok clip.
Yeah,
is it actually on TikTok?
No. The TikTok play where I think the perfect example of just Paper X doing shit and getting away with it. Look at what Jing does here.
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? He walls the break. He just pushes over his own wall, and look at how fucking petrified Scary is. Scary is like backpedaling, but also backpedaling desperately.
Also, they try and react by pushing B, and Jing gets the next kill on the people reacting pushing B. He runs all the way back,
insane.
And he's ready to pick them up as they react. Xerxia are like, go, 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 they're behind us, let's commit to the fight. And they wall up, Jing's there, gets the other kill.
It's
that's
just
for
insanity.
a slow orb haunt to fucking sage wall up to get that kill, and they were just not letting it. There was a possibility that there's people towards A main and he just gets shot in the back, but they don't care. They're just holding that W and he gets that frag, and that's been PRX the whole time in that series against Xerxia. Really fucking insane. When I was playing rank with like the APAC casters, they had this term called no charity. So every time you win or lose, you just force up and keep holding W, and that's just the mentality of APAC out there. They just can't stop fucking holding W and fragging out. It's fucking insane. It works somehow against that team or against those teams, and I still feel that despite how whimsy this will still work against Masters teams.
It definitely will still work.
I think
the question is, can they smoke other Masters
teams?
Can
they place, Bren, can they place higher than fourth? That is where they placed previously. Can they place higher than fourth?
I'm sorry, where's this doubt coming from Josh?
What? So no. I'm so on board with them that I have to give myself a reality check, because otherwise I'm going to tell you they're winning. I'm going to tell you they're winning if all I did was watch the APAC VODs, but I have to keep reminding myself that when they go up against the best teams in the world, right? When they went up against DRX, when they went up against Zeta, you are able on some maps to hold for them and win duels against them, and then they trade out unfavorably.
Does this?
What's right?
What are you going to do when Forsaken does this? What are you going to do when Forsaken does this? Look at this. The Vi jiggle peeking as well, trying to bait the op shot because they know there's an opper there.
Yeah.
Fucking 2v4. Forsaken's already got 1 kill earlier. The round is essentially almost lost.
Yeah, what I'm not going to do is...
Forsaken fucking sprays down 2, pulls out the Blade Storm, runs through his own Cloud Burst. He's on 23 health, whacks his head on the fucking roof, gets a concussion, still kills somebody with knives, and then just fucking ints into the backline. What are you going to do when Forsaken aces?
What I'm going to do is I'm not going to open the door and run at Forsaken with 2 of my players. No, it wasn't. They opened the door and they tried to re-clear halls. They watch the replay afterwards, they open the door, and then people running into holes, and Forsaken just finds time and sprays 2 of them down.
They did the Cypher Cam door break bug. It was over. They were playing like this with confidence at Reykjavik.
But no, they're better than they were at Reykjavik.
Exactly.
I know.
Exactly.
I know.
That's the fucking point. This team, they have got all the makings. They're still playing the fucking crazy Euro shit that they did on Bind to throw teams off. They look even better on that. And they still have the fucking firepower of Jing and Forsaken. This team is... They are set on a path right now of pure fucking destruction. They are salting the fields that are before them. They are going fucking wild. There's an opportunity for them to grasp this. And do you know how I was saying earlier how NORTHEPTION, they need to play with that confidence that they had in the grand finals, and they still need to make improvements. They still need to do all that. PaperX, we already know that they're gonna not step off the gas. We know they're not gonna lose their footing as they're running over teams in the fucking whatever. Did they skip groups?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not to do with form when it comes to PaperX. You just know their average level is unreal.
Is unreal.
Right.
And
So,
the question is, can other teams keep up with it?
I think it.
Do you think the top teams in Copenhagen can keep up with the pace that they bring sometimes?
I think if you try to outpace them, you will lose. I think the only way you beat them is by catching the aggression. I think that's what DRX did. That's what Zeta Division did as well. You can't out-tempo this team. You haven't practiced playing at this tempo. You will lose.
Yeah, they were forged in the fires of fucking Southeast Asia. You ain't beating them.
I think if PaperX had played against OpTic at Reykjavik, it would have been a very hard matchup stylistically for OpTic. I think in that lower bracket final, OpTic got a better matchup playing against Zeta, even though Zeta beat PaperX, than had they played against this crazy team, because OpTic actually like playing high tempo. They'll happily match it, and I think that's a trap to
but not at 120%. Thankfully, they had the experience by playing a team that's similar, I guess, in a sense, with Xerxia, if they're already competing with that experience from that region for if it's like an OpTic versus PRX. Groups. Yeah, exactly. So you have that experience to potentially be ready for PRX. But the thing is like I know we come in a lot on PaperX of being hyper aggressive, but there's some crazy shit that it even do, like just slowing down the pace on other shit. Well, the first one is on Icebox, there's even like Jing Sage walling Forsaken on a double updraft with Bladestorm on mid. So they don't hold W, but they just do the wackiest stuff like TikTok shit to be able to get first bloods. But then you have other rounds where it's Devi with an op on Chamber, then Forsaken with an op on Jett, and they're double opping in Long B of green, where Forsaken's playing in the cubby. So where you dash back out in the open if you're getting pushed in while Devi is opping from yellow. So just that type of stuff, slowing down the tempo, but still playing like some weird, funky angles and crossfire setups that will really, if you're not ready to play this type of team, like if you're interviewing a lot of these teams right now that are outside of these regions, if you're going to talk to the XSETs, you're going to talk to the Fnatic, they're all going to say, we haven't really watched any other region right now because we're too busy playing against our own region. Now you have 1 week and a half to watch as many VODs as you can and boot camp to be ready for this type of play style, but it's still not going to be the same thing as studying it and seeing an application in the game. So it's going to be a good thing for PaperX to be outside our group already, that when they're going to face off against the first team that makes it a group against them, they have a great chance to already make it to like a top 6 and a top 4. But to get back to the question, can they make higher than 4 seed? I think so, especially with what I've seen against this this Xerxia team. They are definitely an upgraded team from the whimsiness that they had, that they were already good at Masters 1.
I think I'm thinking about teams that can beat Paper X. I think Fnatic have a decent chance of beating Paper X. I think Loud have a decent chance of beating Paper X. OpTic love playing similar fast-paced comps. I think it's a bad stylistic matchup. I think OpTic can beat them, but I think it's a worse matchup than Fnatic or Loud. And once you start getting outside of the elite teams, boy, oh boy, you start to think Paper X are
boy, oh boy,
very favored. Did I get a bit too whimsy there?
Well, I mean, genuinely though, when you look at the rest of the teams, I mean, they're not. I don't think they're going to beat Guild. Or, I mean, rather, I don't think Guild are going to beat them. I don't think FPX are going to beat them.
I think
I don't think XSET are going to beat them.
It'd be a tough game for XSET.
I don't think NIP or KRÜ could. I don't think Leviatán can. I think they're
DRX. DRX have beaten them in the past, but Paper X have gotten better, and I don't think DRX have gotten that much better.
Just bedge. Paper X are going to beat DRX this time. I mean, I think you're really only looking at the elite. I think they
FPX
look like
get
they're
lost in the silliness and lose to them.
Also, if they have subs, I mean, they're just not going to have the coordination to deal with what they're doing.
I think Paper X are currently the best set play team in the world. They have the most interesting, deepest strat book of set plays, and also they're trading for each other. Like, every time you watch this team, you're always going to be thinking about Jing and Forsaken, but Mindfreak, Devi, and Benkai in particular, but also the other two, they're so tight behind them, working off all the space that they're given, and very good at setting them up with utility. This team is just really disciplined and fundamentally good compared to where they were at Reykjavik. At Reykjavik, it was like silly Jing Forsaken hours, but they are so tight.
I'm going to ask a tougher question then. Do they have a date with the finals?
I'm telling you, I have to struggle to not predict them to win. I have to keep reminding myself.
Do it. Just do it, Josh. Do it.
But the thing is,
say it.
Here's what's going to happen. If I say to you, Paper X are the favorites to win, they're going to go into one of these upper bracket games where they play against Durka and Alpha, and Durka and Alpha, are going to kill Forsaken and Jing every time. Jing and Forsaken are going to have 92 first deaths in the series. And people are going to say, you're a fucking lunatic. Why did you bred them? They play like maniacs. Of course the more reasonable style's going to win out. And I'm going to say, you fucking bedge motherfuckers.
Okay,
you don't appreciate. I don't know.
Couldn't they make the final and lose to Fnatic in the final then?
Yes.
Do you think that's possible?
I think Paper X could make the final. I think they are in the S tier, but they have such a unique style that it's not about being better than them, it's about countering their style. So they can lose to teams that are worse than them if they figure out the counter. They can beat any team in the tournament.
Yeah,
figure out that counter.
Dude, I mean,
there is no counter on Fracture.
Even if you figure out the counter, if you're a worse team, that probably means you're less individually skilled and you might just still get flattened.
Yeah. But I'm thinking about, I mean, I think DRX and Zeta were on a similar tier to Paper X at Reykjavik. And they both managed to beat them because they matched up well against them. Even though Paper X ended up finishing further than DRX.
The only thing that puts a doubt for me is also, or maybe one of the things that puts a doubt into me is to looking at the type of meta right now, right? Again, we praise the ability, combo, and utility that you could have from like the Fade and Arrays, and for example, an Astra into the meta 2 and Sage. And this is not a lot of compositions that their opposition was really using against them for Paper X. And one thing that we've noticed, or at least that I've noticed when we're watching North America, is the abilities to play retake sites. So yes, Paper X is really good on defense to just run it down and play it against you. But if you're playing a little bit more further back or understand the timings of these pushes, and you're gonna have to play Paper X when they're on the attack, and you just play the retake, will it be good enough to play against Paper X? I think so as well. What is the situation too when Paper X actually runs it down on defense, but it's like a 5 versus 3 or 4 versus 3, and the other players still have good ability on pulse plants? Will it still be good enough for Paper X to actually play a diffuse? I don't think they have many opportunities to play pulse plants right now with just the way that they're currently playing.
They also haven't played against good teams that play Raise Fade very much. I mean, most of the teams that they play against, the APAC teams, the two other teams that made it deep, Xerxia and Team Secret, play a lot of Jett compositions. Also, a lot of kind of cap compositions. Like Xersha's Fracture comp was not particularly meta and wasn't great at dealing with them. Team Secret are playing some dodgy comps where they're playing like very old meta comps, you know, that like not leaning into any utility that can actually
this
stop
Icebox game looks like it could be from last year.
Yeah.
I mean,
So,
seriously.
I think they've got Paper Rex
comps.
still have a serious challenge of can their aggressive style work against very like
Meta.
raise fade chamber heavy teams. The chamber can grab a kill on Forsaken of Jing and get out, and there's no trade potential there. Raise fade is going to be seizing you and haunting you and nading you. There are counters within the meta right now to how Paper Rex play, but you're still going to have to be really good, and that's why I'm looking at teams like Fnatic, like Loud, like DRX, and those teams that are leaning heavily into raise and fade and chamber to counter Paper Rex and stop them winning.
Do Leviathan have a chance? They have finally beaten KRÜ, the long-running LATAM rivalry that KRÜ was always number one. They were always ahead of them and always qualifying for the events. I mean, KRÜ qualified for the most international events, I think, more than any other team.
If they qualify for this event, they will have never missed an international event. If they miss this one, they're tied with like Fnatic, OpTic, DRX, etc. with 4 out of 5.
So KRÜ are still gonna be in that LATAM BR final qualifier match, but this has been just the long running match for LATAM, and KRÜ obviously they had one of the coolest stories in champs at the end of last year, and then they kind of just fizzled out in early 2022 at Reykjavik. They just went 0-2 and kind of silently exited the tournament.
They didn't look good.
And just not great fashion. How are we feeling about Leviathan though? Is there reinstilled hope for LATAM, Josh?
Yes, there is a little bit. I think Takolisha, the chamber player who was previously their Jett player, is a genuine talent that you should be
I agree.
respecting on the same level of some of these other like top tier players. I think they've also got some decent meta ideas. I think they're a pretty decent team overall. I think they've got more of a chance than KRÜ did when they played at Reykjavik. They've actually kind of looked like a better team than KRÜ for a while, but they've always stumbled when it came to the big games against them. They've like fumbled, thrown some leads. They've had a choking problem, I think. I think Ona's done an incredible job with this team. I think, don't take public health advice from him, but he's an insanely good coach. He just is. He's now done it with 2 separate rosters, taking them all the way through to become the best team in the region and represented at Masters. And someone ran the numbers after his timeouts. When Ona takes a timeout, they win like 80% of the rounds afterwards. Jesus. And they've averaged, I can't even remember what the numbers were off the top of my head, but it's like they tend to go on consecutive round wins every time he takes a timeout as well, which I think is mostly like small. I'm sure it's strategic adjustments, but he's like a very mental-sided coach as well, which I think is extremely beneficial to these kind of teams. I think Leviathan are firmly an upset team. What's right?
How did you pronounce taco?
Takolisha. Apparently, it's like Lisha because it's like Argentinian Chilean pronunciation.
SHC or something.
I thought it was Takolia, and the casters were saying Takolisha, and apparently double L is a sh sound in like some places
an
in
SHC
South America
or something like that. Yeah.
So I think it's Takolisha.
Edutainment podcast. We're learning. We're becoming cultured.
I think Leviathan are an upset team. They shouldn't be really expected to make it out of groups though, because the group stage is going to be so hard. But they could.
Yeah,
I think they could. A capital C is legit, but it's still going to be very difficult. I actually molded a bit watching Leviathan play against KRÜ, and we were mentioning it before going live. But for example, Piss Around, they have a perfect execution on C site. And then Leviathan is playing Pulse Plant, and they're playing the long C plant. And then they smoked themselves out on long C on attacker side. And then they got diffused on pistol. I was like, okay, a mistake. It could happen. I think round number 9 or something like that. I can't really remember. It's in my notes somewhere. But they plan for long C. They're playing like a 3 versus something. and they're getting flanked from behind, they're going to smoke the front C. They're going to smoke front C to cover the spike so they could maybe fight towards the back. But still, you're smoking yourself out on post plans, and I did not like that. So I think in terms of like the macro of it, of trying to figure out how they know where to end. I just feel like after they've ended there and they want to finish the round, it seems convoluted from time to time. Like, look at this, perfect paranoia, and then it's a 2v1. Let me just flash towards top C, and then try to spray through it. So I didn't like that. But Shy has been a great addition, I think, to this roster as well. I think Owner even mentioned it too. Like, they're probably was probably the missing piece to have a little bit more success out of Leviatán, not only from his Fade play, but also every single one of these players mechanically are actually pretty gifted. Again, Taco is another one, as you mentioned before, had so many moments where he's pushing out on Chamber, and there's like a Prowler coming against him. There's a flash that's about to come out. He just gets an instant kill and TPs away. Like, he is quick with the flick of the wrist, as Brennon would like to say. So I feel that in terms of duels, they'll do just fine. But at the macro level, to play against your opponents at this level, at this stage, I think you take it with a grain of salt of how far they'd go. I don't think they'll make it out of groups. I think they'll get great experience out of it to look better later on, especially with Owner as a coach. And I even think their assistant coach comes from KRÜ as well, if I'm not mistaken, right? So that's the positive aspect. In the end, we're just happy that we have somebody else, at least for me personally, in terms of storylines, that there's real competition in LATAM. And hopefully this continues on, so that, you know, as you were saying, Wyatt, KRÜ was playing still very dated comps in this matchup. Like, the matchup on Split wasn't the best for coming out of KRÜ. They had no way of really controlling middle against Leviatán. So hopefully this is going to be experience for KRÜ as well, so they could level up each other and then have a better chance at the international stage later on.
Yeah,
Mazzino's still playing like
you
a
have
freak.
a confession.
Yeah.
Oh no, what did you do? What?
I was in the VOD dungeon, but I broke free early. Watch this game.
I mean, I think if you're going to skip any game, this one, I don't think you've missed a team that's going to make a top 4 run.
I want to ask, though, who can they beat? I think they could beat
Great question.
FPX with subs. I think they could beat Guild. I think they could, obviously, if KRÜ make it, they could beat KRÜ. If NIP make it, I think they could. Yeah, they could beat NIP.
Yep, they could beat NIP. I think they can beat NORTHEPTION if NORTHEPTION don't have the same form.
You're killing me.
No, I think that
you're killing me.
I think
Josh.
if NORTHEPTION don't play with the same level of form, then they're a team that's
killing me.
Potentially an upset team. But also, here's the thing. This is why I didn't like the whole. There's no such thing as minor regions anymore. From the last event is that. You're going to have teams like KRÜ go on a run for a while, and then if they cool off, is there a team ready waiting in the wings to step up? Leviathan's been good enough to beat them this time, but you shouldn't expect them to bounce straight back up to where KRÜ had got to last year.
Peak.
Yeah, like you can't expect them to immediately bounce straight back to the peak of like making a top 4 run in a tournament. And I think the same could be said for some of the other regions too. But this team is decent. I guess in terms of who can they beat, I mean, the group stage and just the field in general at Copenhagen is nasty. It's way better than Reykjavik. Way, way better than Reykjavik. Yeah. Assuming FPX are able to play with their full team. And even if FPX aren't, it's still better than Reykjavik. So I don't really know. They're an upset team in the sense that they might knock someone out that you otherwise think is good. You know, like in terms of, maybe... I don't even know. They're like they get a win over someone and that contributes to somebody else going out rather than they actually go through to playoffs by beating someone twice.
Right.
You know what I mean? They could beat another team and that's one of the 2 upset losses that one of your favorite teams get. I could see a situation like that. I don't think they're going to go on a great run, but I think it's an opportunity for their players to show themselves on the world stage. I wasn't that impressed with the rest of their team, though, apart from Takalisha. I was really looking at King. The LATAM viewers in my chat were hyping him up a lot. But I didn't think he looked that great compared to the
20th player named King in the Valorant pro scene.
Yeah.
And is it like this spelled the same way? Is it spelled the same way as the Korean King?
It's kind of similar, actually.
No,
It's a capital N and 2 G's.
Yeah.
Number one, yeah.
We're reaching critical king mass. We could actually make a 5-man team of all kings. Just the king team.
It'll be called the Kingdom.
All right. Okay. Let's move on, though. We have one singular match prediction this week. There is one match to watch, which is NiP versus KRÜ. It's a big match, though. It is for the final slot. NiP trying to qualify back-to-back, and KRÜ trying to, keep up their streak of making every international event and having... it would be the first time that 2 LATAM teams would be in attendance at an international event as well. So a bit of history to potentially be had. But first, let's look at how little Timmy did last week with the community prediction. Oh, hey, last week they picked OpTic over XSET in the upper matchup, and you did it.
Well done.
OpTic won. Good job. Good job, viewers.
No.
They're catching up.
You're catching up. You're getting
They're
there.
doing the viewers. The viewers are they're doing better though. So good job. Maybe if they get this one right, 4 and 5. That's not bad. All right, let's check out last week's Preds. How did we do? I mean, listen, Vansilli easy 4-0. I'm gonna, it's been tough for me. It's been tough for me. Honestly, there's been a lot of upsets, and I feel like I've made some pretty good predictions. I really.
What was your percentage on?
Their Timmies are catching up to you, Wyatt. The Timmies are catching up to you. You're at 40% or 35.
My percentage, I really think that listen, I picked a lot of games where I was happy with the team that I picked, but there was an upset. That's all I can say. Okay. But also, it's fine because I'm going to get everyone's respect back when I pick the Copenhagen winner and finalists correctly. Okay? And I've got some notes on my phone about NiP and why they're going to win this game too.
Oh my god.
That's so good.
I'm feeling good about your Brennon for Northeption. I'm feeling good.
Let's see who we preded for this match.
Who do we go for?
Oh God.
Wow.
Well.
Is it more fun to have a curse, or is it more fun? See, I'm flip-flopping on this one. I think there is a chance that KRÜ takes it. So, I think...
Are you going to flip?
I might. I'm trying to think.
Do it for Brazil, Josh.
Because I don't
Switch for Brazil.
I don't think this is a Plat Chat guarantee.
I would not give this the Plat Chat guarantee.
I'm going to flip. I'm going to flip.
You're going to flip it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to go for KRÜ here. I think NIP are the favorites, and I think that they've actually improved more since the last time we saw them compared to, well, actually, I'm not sure that's true, because KRÜ looked shocking at Reykjavik.
Have they improved? We literally just said they're playing 2020 comps.
No, KRÜ aren't playing 2020 comps. I was talking about the APAC teams. KRÜ have played a lot of Fade. They're playing a lot of Rays. Like they were playing fucking Phoenix on Haven at Reykjavik. Fans. They were living in 2020. Genuinely, they have improved that aspect of their game. And when I was watching the game against Leviathan, they had some interesting like bonus round ideas, pistol round ideas, defensive setups, and like Klaus had some good calls at times. Mazzino's still playing god tier Valorant, but then it felt like they gave up at some point in the match. It really did.
They didn't have the owner to bring them back mentally.
I mean, maybe.
They mentally crumbled.
They used to talk about the fact that KRÜ were a bit of a weak mental team. And that was why owner had to do that kind of stuff. I mean, I don't know whether they've regressed back to their old ways, but I've seen the good stuff from KRÜ. I know they have it in them, but I just don't know if they can do it over the course of a series. I'll take a punt, though. I'll take a punt.
Okay.
I think that's very reasonable. I definitely don't think this is the Plat Chat guarantee. I think NiP are overall playing well. I appreciate that they are certainly experimenting and trying to push their play forward through, kind of integrating not just meta ideas, but like trying to come up with new ideas. And then sometimes they might be doing it too far.
What's
Yeah,
better?
Bren, you got something to say about that,
where
right?
the problem may
would you
lie for
prefer?
them. Because there are some maps, they are running Bren's Icebox comp.
Yeah, what would you prefer, the John Rayner or the John Neon? Because they've gone...
Well, I mean...
John Reyna, if
Neon,
I have to choose one
because
for
Neon,
Icebox.
right?
I mean, Reyna's just not good
But also,
in a KO world.
you don't get John Rayner on all the maps. You get John Rayner on Icebox. So you get to pick John Rayner on Icebox or John.
That's what I'm saying.
Sorry, John Rayner. Sorry,
Sorry, what
I'm
was
saying the
wrong?
wrong words.
Hello?
I meant Neon.
Oh.
You don't get Neon on all of the maps. You get Neon on Ice. You get John Neon or John Rayner on Icebox.
I mean,
You'd still go with the Neon.
Still with a Neon.
maybe still. I mean, the problem...
I would still go with a Neon.
I don't know.
You would? You trying to get us to play it in our
Yeah,
fucking boomerang matches? Pulling up valor plants, drawing random walls on
Dude,
the
that
map.
shit was cooking, though. That shit was fucking
You know
cooking.
what? About that, the neon walls on Icebox. I was trying to watch that game, and I'm like, I'm gonna pay attention to John Neon and see how many walls are gonna come up. He
Telling
didn't
you.
buy it for like half of the rounds or 3/4 of the rounds, and the time that he's used it was like once where it wasn't even useful. So I would rather take John Reyna over John Neon if he's not gonna use any of the kit.
They're trying to do
I
interesting stuff.
I am worried that they might Team Liquid themselves. They might experiment too hard and lose because of it, where if they just reverted to something a bit more standard, that would have resulted in the win. Like, there are a lot of moments... I mean, Icebox is kind of... I keep harping on Icebox, but, you know, that was a map, too, where, like, Shandy was playing Killjoy, and he was opping, and he was positioning himself in, like, chamber locations and making chamber-esque plays, like being on rafters, pushing out of a smoke with the op, but he's on Killjoy, and he just gets caught. You know, like things like that where it's like they're going for something innovative, but I don't think it's as fleshed out as it needs to be. And I'm worried they may Team Liquid themselves. They may experiment too hard at the wrong time, where on some of the maps, if they played something a little more standard, they'd come away with the win because the player quality is really high. Like, I think... I mean, Shandy is in crazy good form right now, and he certainly may be the catalyst for their win, no matter what agent he's playing. But they might need to rein it back a little bit on some of the maps.
The LATAM broadcast asked us to do a co-stream of this match as well. So not Plat Chat, but specifically our individual co-stream. So we'll be doing a English broadcast co-stream of NIP KRÜ as well.
It's tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it's tomorrow.
Tomorrow
as
at
it's
11
happening.
Central.
Tomorrow at 11
Yeah.
a.m. Central.
And more, I mean, you were talking about the stakes of getting the final player in, but it's the stakes of whether or not Loud make it to playoffs. It's absolutely absurd that Loud need to rely on NIP winning this game to not. They
is
make the
absurd.
finals. They might end up being in groups. It's just crazy. It's crazy.
And I mean, unlike OpTic, they won every game since.
They didn't drop a map.
They haven't lost a map since. Like, OpTic actually lost the finals, so they're in groups, but there's just no reason for them to be there.
Yeah.
It is a little bit silly. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back.
3 minutes on the clock.
All right,
3
so we
minutes
are
on the
going to
clock.
do our top 10 aggregate list of Masters Copenhagen players when we get back. So get some popcorn. These lists
10 or
are
top 20?
ridiculous.
Yeah, we have the top 10, top 20 coming up afterwards. We each made an individual top 20, but we're going to show the top 10, and then, I mean, fucking
I'm good
who
with that.
knows what's going to happen
Oh,
with 10
I'm good
to
with
20.
that. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Potante had a super chat earlier that was pretty good, but I haven't found a place of really inserting it into the discussion. Potante said, speaking about regional levels, if I told you a year and a half ago that Turkey would be the least successful region internationally, you would say I'm off the goop. Because they did look so good like a year ago in terms of the talent they were producing, but it's been more so like a feeder region of good players. You've got like Alpha Yeah, CNED. Honestly, not a huge amount of top talent in the top teams, but some very good players. It is a bit of a pity that if Champs is happening at Istanbul, it's very likely there's no Turkish teams there, but I'm hoping Ascend make it the Champs if they're able to have a good LCQ performance, and you have Fnatic there as well with Althea, because Althea and CNED playing in front of the home crowd would be just crazy good for Istanbul. I bet the Turkish crowd would go dumb ultra crazy. Are there any Danish players that are going to be playing at Copenhagen?
There's actually a breakdown of player locations on the Liquipedia I can look up real quick.
I think FPX are looking at 2 Danish subs. They're looking at Cider and Masked, but honestly, I just hope they don't play. Sounds a bit harsh, but I just hope FPX's full team play. I can't think of any other top Danish players. Maybe I'm just forgetting somebody.
Sure. It looks like. What country did you say? Danish? No, there's none. There's gonna be no home crowd for any of the players. Unfortunate.
Probably a good thing.
Everybody's under pressure then. Lots of South Korean
just the
players,
CS events,
lots of
the
US
Astralis crowd.
players, lots of Chileans, lots of Thai players, Brazilians. Very big mix of representation at this tournament, and that doesn't include whether KRÜ or NIP qualify. So, all right, we're gonna get into our top 10 soon. Hopefully, this thing that I made doesn't break. I haven't used it in a hot minute, so if it doesn't, it might be kind of nice. Hope you like it.
Let's do this, guys.
I hate this. I hate this. We don't even know which teams are going.
All right. I mean, Lord knows what Vansilli's. Oh, he's back.
Vansilli,
Just in
are
time.
you a
Apparently
big
was
fan of
raining.
the
I have to
movie
take my
He's back
Avatar?
just in time.
You've got a picture from Avatar in your background.
Oh my god.
Yeah, you like it?
Yeah.
Oh, Avatar 2.
Let's all go to the cinema to watch
Avatar
Avatar 2.
You guys want to go
Finally.
see the Minions movie after this?
We're not going to have time because this next segment is going to be 7.5 hours
It's gonna be
long.
so fucking long.
So we won't
I
have
hate
time.
my list. I hate my list.
We're not even going to have time to see the rise of Groot today, and I'm really upset. But the viewers will be happy because finally we are going to do the Plat Chat top 10 players at Copenhagen, and then after that we're going to look at our individual list. So this is Kurt has used mathematics to combine all of our Plat Chat top 20 lists to make
1 plus 1
the
is 2.
official top 10, and then
Algorithms.
we'll check out the individual
Technology.
ones. All right.
Yeah. So no one here knows each other's lists.
No.
Yeah, none of us have any idea what the top 10 actually looks like. We only know our own lists. Who all submitted them?
combined.
Kurt?
So we had everybody except for Bala. So we had Vance and the Plat Chat
Bala.
crew minus Bala. Bala was very busy with the baby, so he
Right.
couldn't make
So-
the list.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
then like us three, and then plus Avast, plus Mimi.
Yeah.
Cool.
Hopefully, through the law of averages, we end up with a list that isn't
Makes
capped.
sense.
I'm gonna make a prediction. Through the law of averages,
It's capped.
we will not be happy with any of the placements.
Yeah.
I think some people might be
I
happy.
think top 10 is
Maybe.
easier than top 20.
Once you get,
Yeah.
I mean, the 10 through 20 is when you really get in the nonsensical weeds of chaos. I mean,
Yes.
just sifting through like, but do you value the IGLing and
utility
the
usage.
supportive utility, or do I just put in another chamber? I mean, that's actually the list.
You'll see. Do you guys want to get started? It should
Dude,
be
yeah.
fun.
Do it.
Let it rip.
Let's get into it.
Wait, where do we start? 10 or no, 1?
Well, I mean, if you want to start one, that kind of
No.
So let's get
Okay.
crazy. Let's start at number 6. Let's do it different. No, let's start at 10. We'll go from 10 to 1. Number 10 on the list, Sodhawk. Okay. Plays a multitude of roles to a high level, and IGL's up there too. Underrated element of why Loud is so good, says Bren.
I did say that.
Bren did say that. I'm okay with this. Because I also had Sodhawk in my top 10. His initiator play has been world class since since I keep wanting to say Copenhagen, but since Reykjavik. I am very okay with this. Plus the IGL
People talking
factor.
Aspers this, less that. Sadak has been unreal at the
Yeah.
moment. He has been playing on an absolute blinder.
I mean, those are some bananas stats for a Sky and KO Sage, and he's putting up 0.88 on
While he's
Sky
IGLing
KPR
as well,
and
yeah.
IGLing. I mean, he's putting
Yep.
up some numbers. IGLing, that's That is some impressive stuff.
Yeah, I ranked him exceptionally highly on my list for Reykjavik, and he didn't play as well as he did online. So I've shifted him down slightly to where I had him from that.
I'm talking about your list.
No. I just
about the aggregated list, Josh. It's not all about you.
But I'm just explaining my point of view for the 10th pick.
He's so narcissistic.
I think Sadak's a great player, and there's no way this team would be winning without him IGLing.
Mm-hmm. I think it's a great way to like IGL it and even set himself up as a KO on top of that too. It's like, are we ready to go? Let's fucking go. It's my call. And then it just works out really well for the rest of the team following up with him too. I think he's been very, very consistent in terms of his fragging department. Again, just like you guys, the IGL aspect of it too, to be able to control all the team while he's going to have to frag out as a KO. I'm going to have to start watching some VOD so I can do the same thing on our Boomerangs tournaments.
So this is one, I'm going to get this straight. We're all okay with this one?
No, I'm not.
I didn't
You're
have
not
it.
okay with it?
No.
I'm okay. It's in my range.
What's wrong with it?
I'm not okay with this. It's too low.
I think it's too high.
I think it's just right. Vansilli, how do you feel?
I mean, I'm not part of this conversation because you guys had the perfect high, low, middle. You know, I'm just
okay. That's fine. Yeah, I should.
You're Goldilocks. We're the three bears, and you're Goldilocks, just prancing around.
You know what? Mine's the just right too. Mine's the just right too. I love this
Wait,
porridge.
so you want him higher? Yes. You think he? Okay.
Because I think fragging IGL is a rarity these days. He's doing it on a fuck ton of roles while on a top team, and he gets overshadowed by a lot of the other members of Loud.
How much higher do you think he should be?
A lot higher.
No, come the fuck on, man.
Where do you think he should be?
I think there are too many good players in the top 20 for Sadak to go up the list because it means moving other fuckers down.
You've been playing too much ranked.
What do you mean I've been playing too much
Your
ranked?
brain has been rotted.
My brain has been rotted.
You only see Chamber and Jett players.
No,
now.
it's not the Chamber
That's
and Jett
actually
players.
sad. The old Josh would have had fucking Sadak at number 1.
Okay.
That's sad, actually.
The old Josh did have Sadak insanely highly because he was fragging so hard in Brazil, and then he came to Reykjavik, and he wasn't able to have the same impact because the player quality is a lot better. So I think the numbers will naturally go down a little bit, not because Sadak's a land choker or anything, just because he's playing against tougher competition. He's still going to be really good, but I think the level of fragging at the IGL role has gone up since Reykjavik as well.
Josh changed. Weird.
He actually has changed.
He's
I don't
good.
know you
He's
anymore.
really fucking good.
I mean, we did that at the beginning. We did also. I think this is right about where I had him. Actually, I think I had him
Boomerang's
like
changed too,
one
Josh.
spot higher. So
We're going to show a list at the end, aren't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, but
you'll fucking see where I put Sadak.
Yeah, but I just want to. We got to have a little bit of conflict, debate.
This is more to conflict.
Let's see number 9.
Schisms within the Plat Chat team.
Let's see number 9. Who do we got? It is Les, number 9. Postmasters 1. Les has picked up the Chamber for Loud, allowing him to have more fragging impact on the game. That is one of the reasons why I put Les quite high, because I think heading into this, he had been previously fragging really well, like on Viper and kind of those standard Sentinel roles, but since picking up the Chamber, I mean, you can see Kurt's showing stats on VLR right now. His KPR is 1.02. That is crazy high. I mean, his Chamber
unreal.
play online since picking it up has been outlandish. And if he continues, I'm sure, obviously, that's going to drop a bit just because they're not going to, well, maybe they will, but it's likely that they're not going to win every single map in the fashion that they have online at Copenhagen. So it's going to be less than that, but even if it's near that, that's going to be a crazy showing from him. Obviously, Chamber's an ultra-powerful agent right now. Les proved at Reykjavik that he has absolute world-class, top-tier talent, and if he can show that more often by playing an agent like Chamber that allows you to have big impact on the game as an individual, I think you're going to be looking at him as one of the highest-rated players of the event.
I think this is the perfect placement for him, actually, around this kind of position, because you could take a punt and put him higher, but I still want to see him playing the Chamber against the best Chambers in the world. But dude, he's so talented. The point you made there, Wyatt, is so important too. He was a top-level player at Reykjavik without playing the broken, busted agent. Yeah. So he's gonna be amazing. He's gonna be amazing. He definitely belongs in the top 10, in my opinion.
I had him lower.
You had him lower.
You had him
Only had him slightly
significantly lower than Sadak. I mean, okay.
Nothing further. You just had him lower.
Are you just a chamber hater? Are all the chamber players just shoved
I
down the
did
list?
deduct points mentally if they played chamber, because the game was too easy at that point.
Do you have Boaster, Benkai, Sadak Angel all in your top 10?
Oh my god! I mean, the full list reveal is going to be shocking.
This guy's actually a wine swirling Valorant enjoyer.
Oh my god! All right, do we want to move on here? Let's check out number 8. Who have we got? Who have we got here? Victor, number 8.
Wow.
Such a good space creator, and is now finding kills on top of that.
Except when he has to use a fucking overdrive. The guy can't fucking frag when he has a fucking neon
Only
ult for
Baby
his
Bay
life.
can.
Yeah, only Baby
is
Bay
different with
and
the overdrive.
Forsaken and any other neon in the world. But yeah, Victor is a great player. You know, again, like I said, I think when you look at his performances at Champions, you put the asterisks, the stars on that with what happened with him being sick, and then in the early months of Valorant, trying to figure out how Victor was going to perform, that was always on the mind of a lot of people. But I still find that he's been able to work well under a system of Chet and FNS to be like, today you're going to play this and it's going to work. And he's done that tremendously from week to week, where he's playing like a Neon to a Jett to now a Yoru, and from map to map. I think he's been a great flex agent or a flex player for this team, almost to a point where you were commending sick into the first strike grand finals when he was playing 5 agents on 5 different maps or whatever, right? So I think Victor is at that level right now with a meta that's fully evolved to what it was in 2020, and he's still able to still perform very well. So that's why he deserves to be in a top 10, even higher for me than number 8 that I have on my list. But yeah, that's where I got him.
I had him lower.
I had him way lower.
I had him way lower too.
Overrated.
Damn.
Listen,
Man, how did he get to
no,
Overrated?
I guess some people.
I had him a little
had him
bit
quite,
lower.
Oh, okay. So you still had him quite high.
I had him. He was in my top 20.
Yes, I had him in my top 20. I
Yes.
think he's a
So-
lock for
because-
top 20.
Victor is. He's not so much contingent now when OpTic have success that he has to have a good game, but I definitely feel like he fills in whatever piece needs to be filled into Chet's cringe comp idea.
Yes.
And he will play it, and honestly he gets given a lot of free reign to do what he wants when he's playing certain things. I'm thinking of the
And
Jett
that's why
game
it works.
where he played it. Yeah, it does work. He gets given a lot of freedom as well.
I mean,
but
I
is
think
he
only gets freedom on the Jett, though. He doesn't really get freedom on Neon or
on
KO
Neon?
when he plays
No,
it.
on Neon he plays a very.
He's like in the
he
exec
has to be the one in.
every
Yoru,
time.
I
He is the
always-
centerpiece
always-
of the execs.
Yeah.
He's very
And
busy.
which is why you're playing an agent where you're going to have to run through your own walls on Fracture and then try to fucking throw relay bolts left and right and guess that your opponent's going to be there and try to get the kills. But if he's not getting the kills, at least it allows for the rest of the players to move up. So he's like an integral part to all of the executions. Maybe the numbers don't prove all the time that he's like a valuable player, but you already see from the exits of how that works. Like, look at how they're playing that Euro and Ascent, for example, right? The way that they place, like, he places a TP towards middle. So they're creating a lot of noise on one space. He TPs back towards mid, so he can lurk towards mid. And if he breaks the rotation, they can rotate back onto the other side from A to B. So just like the small pieces of how he fits into OpTic is what is also aiding into OpTic successes. Again, it's not about Ye getting first bloods all the time. Although he's, and I've written it down, like part of like 43% of the round converted wins when he gets first blood out of like over 100 fucking first bloods. Victor's still one of those reasons why Ye is able to do that on the attack too.
Definitely create space.
But I think the only reason to justify having him in this position is because his Jett ultra pounded recently. That's the only reason that I found it difficult to figure out where to put Victor, because if I was just going based off the groups and the majority of the playoffs performance, and you know, he's a part of the team's structure, but he's not going crazy all the time. But his Jett performances have genuinely been mental. I mean, his Jett performances have been
his Jett numbers
like
are crazy.
he just takes over the game.
I'm
and I wonder
assuming,
if they
though,
might
that-
try and lean into that more, and then he would be at this position.
Did Mimi and Avast also have Victor really high?
Probably.
And then the three of us on the show
We'll
would
find
accept
out.
chance.
We will eventually find out. Yeah, I mean, this is a bit higher than I place Victor as well, and I agree with that point, Josh, about the Jett. And I think it's hard to place him just because he's just such a hard entry role player that often finds himself just genuinely, I mean, it's what Vansilli said in the quote, he's just creating the space on a lot of the execs, and it's, you know, more of the actual fragging a lot of the time will come from the other players. But what gets him high on the list, I think, is that he does give OpTic the games where he is just getting first kills on all of his entries. And those are the games where OpTic are just, you can't beat them.
When Victor is on top form,
you cannot beat them.
They are unbeatable.
Yeah, they're unbeatable when Victor is in really great form. And when his standard form is enough for OpTic to still be one of the absolute best teams in the world. So he's got to be like high, you know, he deserves a high placing on the list, in my mind. But all right, let's check out number 7. Who do we have in number 7? It is,
I like this transition.
Zekken. Flexible and a heavy hitter, often shines brightest in the server, even with Cryo on his team.
Such a nice little quote.
That's so nice, Bren.
Man,
What a nice
so
little
sweet.
quote about Zekken.
This is right
wanna
about where
hug
I
him.
had him as well. A little bit lower, but yeah, I think
And also, you
Zekken
still forgot
is-
that you picked him as the best player in the playoffs last week.
Yeah, I mean, it was honestly, I was tempted to change my best player of the playoffs to BCJ just because of his performance, because I think he had a fucking phenomenal step up in the second week of it. But Zekken has been just class. I think flexibility is something that I rate really highly. His individual abilities, the fact that he's able to play so many roles for the team. Look how many different agents he's playing.
Yeah.
It's a rarity to have a player that plays this much stuff to such a level of consistency, and he's not always having unbelievable games, but luckily that's where Cryo can step up and carry some of the weight and responsibility of being a heavy hitter in the server. He doesn't need to do it all the time, it's just the way that XSET's been built, but he is an amazing player.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a bit of recency bias discussing Zekken because he just dropped the best game of his career against OpTic, going like plus 40. But also throughout their playoff run, the more they've lent into Zekken, the better they've performed. The execs with him on Haven have been masterful, even outside of this final series. They did it in the upper finals as well. Empowering Zekken was the win condition for them on that map. He goes crazy. His Sova has been insanely good on Ascent every time they've picked it up since removing it from their permaban. So it's not just that recency bias. I think that's going to make everybody think of Zekken even higher. And I don't know if he can always play at the level you saw him play against OpTic, but even if you completely discarded that game, there's a good argument to be made that he's been the best player for XSET throughout their recent run since they've made that shift in the roles for Stage 2. And he's fabulously flexible. He's incredibly good.
Yeah, I agree. Crucially, kind of similar to Victor, honestly. Him picking up Jett, I think, has bumped him up a bit in my mind. And, you know, because obviously it's an agent that gives you opportunity to frag more, but it's not a natural, it was never the natural agent for him that he would gravitate to, and it's not where he previously would have his big showings. It would be like, you know, Raze, something like that. And then he picks up the Jett on Haven, and it started strong, and his performances out the gate in the groups were already good on Jett, and then it just got better and better towards with the end of the playoffs. He just looks like an amazing Jett player. And what you were saying with the Sova, his Sova being so good is one of the reasons that they can actually play Ascent now. They're actually good on Ascent now, and they have something that works, and it's with Zekken picking up the Sova.
It's very
crucially.
weird.
He played it again.
And BCJ
played it in the
right
past.
there.
Yes, he used to play it
he
when
used to
he was
play it a
like,
long
on the
time ago,
come-up,
but they've just XSET have always struggled with that map, and he's kind of been, I think, one of the main reasons it's finally worked for them.
This is our first rookie player to international play that we've had on this top 10 list as well. What do you think about, I know this is a very nebulous topic that's almost impossible. Do you think Zekken might struggle a little bit or whatever? Is there any way of even knowing?
Yes, that's why I have him low.
Really? Is that what you've done?
Yep.
Okay, tell me why, Vance. Why have you just taken the punt in that direction?
I just think that overall, first off, his Neon was also really nice in the grand finals too on Fracture. Just watching him like whimsy run around and flank people all the time was actually pretty dope. But
very good.
honestly, my hot take right now is that every single player that has their first international LAN going into Masters 2 is outside of my top 10. The only reason why is because all of the other teams, if you're looking at those that have made it, right? Fnatic, they've made it multiple times. Zhusha, they've made it multiple times. OpTic as well. You have a lot of teams that have that experience already, that those teams probably would shine a lot more than now, Zekken going into that setup of like, okay, I'm in, already towards Europe. It's new time zones, got to figure it out. I think he said in the interviews during the VCTs that he's already traveled overseas before, so like the jet lag's really not going to be that much of an issue. But I just find the pressure of trying to perform at your best when you've always been plagued at being number 4 in North America. You finally made it. You could breathe and get a little bit of like breathing room. But once you get to the international stage, it's like, oh shit, I've never played against these guys before. That's going to be the bigger question for me.
Counterpoint. First of all, they played 2 matches at LCQ before it broke down.
True, actually. They have played on stage.
And second, they won a Nerd Street Philadelphia LAN where they beat C9 Academy in the grand finals.
Yeah. Great counterpoints.
They have strongest
XSET
counterpoint.
have LAN experience.
The strongest
I'm so
counterpoint
sorry,
though
Wyatt.
is the veteran presence that's on the team, because often that can be the anchor to counteract that. If young players are feeling a little bit nervous.
Also, other counterpoint, other players have turned up to their first event and fucking pounded. Like Durka at Reykjavik in 2021, turned up, pounded. Nats, pounded.
Nats.
Yay turned up in Berlin, pounded. You know, like
Until the grand finals.
It's not a rule that first event equals bad. It's just that it can be a bit up or down.
It's just always it's the classic point that you feel that you have to bring up, but you never fucking know the actual answer.
Exactly.
There's literally no way to know.
This feels like the first event though, where you can start ruling people out because they've had wonky performances before.
Performances
Like
wonky.
Like RB didn't put him in my top 20 this time because he's been pounding in Korea, but he did that the last 2 times before the events, and then he fell over at the Milan. So people like that, in my opinion, need to get the confidence back before I can feel good about them.
All right, let's check out the next one, Kurt. Bring it up. Bring it up. We got number 6. Forsaken. Gave us a taste of the potential of Yoru that FPX and OpTic started experimenting with.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, I fucking love it. I love it.
FPX and OpTic play such a snoozy style of Yoru compared to Forsaken.
I mean, bench Yoru compared to Forsaken. Forsaken just sends the TP. He just sends it straight into like up mid.
But do you remember when we were playing Bind? When you were so fucking boomed, Josh, in our scrims, and you said you can pick our comp, and I just started cooking across the map, and I was constructing strategies of the TP, and we were going fucking crazy.
Yeah.
I don't mean to compare myself to Paper X, but I'm going to because
it wasn't a Yoru comp. You just
no, it wasn't. But they play Yoru with the same mentality, which is constantly crafting shit. Constantly cooking stuff up on the fly. And when they've been asked in interviews in the past, they've always said that like they don't have, or at least when it was in reference to Bind, their Yoru Bind, it was more so they are just coming up with shit and calling it, and it is this kind of off the cuff kind of throwing so much at you that it's not a case of you didn't do the VOD prep. It's like, holy fuck, how do you keep up? And Forsaken's such a talented player that he's dropping fucking over 200 ADI. He's in your backline TPing. There's a stun comboed up with it from a breach somewhere. Now that they've incorporated the fade, I think, as well into this comp that they run, it's only better and better and better. But Forsaken really is the centerpiece of why Paper X are such a dangerous team.
Sometimes
it's unadulterated confidence that he shows.
Yeah. Sometimes I have a little thought experiment to myself when I'm trying to rank players of like, do I think other people could do what they do in that system? And it's not always going to be the gold standard of like whether or not I think someone's very good or whatever. But sometimes I think to myself, like, other people that I put in the top 10 list, could they do what Forsaken or Jing do if you put them on Paper X? And I just think, no fucking way could they do what they do.
Not.
They take so many absurd fights and win so many of them that even if you want to make the argument of like, you know, APAC, not a great region, whatever, like, these are ultra talented players, and they have to play in so many unusual scenarios and improv so much, and they just make the right decisions so frequently. It's just crazy.
And they've done it on the international stage too before, so that's the other crazy part about this too. Forsaken definitely. I gave praise again. I mentioned in the quote for like FPX with Angel, the way that they execute towards Breeze against Mech and against Ascend, it looked pretty good, but it's nowhere near to how chaotic it gets as to how Forsaken really just gets in your face. At first, when even Tens started experimenting Yoru on bind, and he comes out, it's like, oh shit, Tens is gonna try to get a shorty kill off a fucking TP, doesn't get it. But then Forsaken actually does the TP in your face and still gets a 2K when he TPs in front of 3 people. It's fucking insane how it works. I love watching this guy play, and that's just on Yoru. Even his Jett's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it also just feels inevitable that he's going to have a really good performance at Copenhagen, given Paper X's quality of play, and also just given how crucial Forsaken is to the team. He's just always, given leeway and is in position to have impact. It just feels like an inevitability that he's going to be one of the high up, top 10 players. It just kind of feels inevitable.
Where did Josh have him?
Forsaken?
Yeah. Higher or lower?
I had him a tad lower than this, but still well within the top 10.
Okay.
I had Jing at this position because I rated Jing slightly higher than Forsaken. But it's
I think this
not
is
an important discussion.
This is another one that I feel like is just right.
Yeah, I think it's
just right.
It's about right.
You breathe a sigh of relief to see if he was going to be able to fill Patty Pan's shoes, or I'm thinking about another team here.
You're thinking of
but it's all
Surf.
good. Yeah, I'm thinking of Surf. Yeah. Which
What's
I
the
also
number
have in my
5,
top
Kurt?
10.
Bring it up. Roll the graphic. We have got Marved in number 5. Marv proved that he was undoubtedly the best controller in the world at Masters Reykjavik, a title he still holds now. That's a Wyatt quote. And I agree with Wyatt. I mean, he still is the best controller in the world heading into this event. I tried to, but what about Mako or what? No, he's still the best controller heading into the event. He's kept it up. I don't know what more there is to say. He deserves a top spot. Also, he might have just been the straight-up MVP of Masters Reykjavik. I mean, he's just got to have a top spot coming into this. It's assumed that OpTic are going to make it deep, and if they do, he will almost certainly be one of the main reasons they do. I think this might have been exactly where I
had him exactly.
I think so. I feel, again, this one feels just right.
Yeah.
Any contention?
I just thought we weren't able to see each other's list. Why you quoted exactly the same thing for me with Marved and with Les. But no, I agree with you guys. I think Marv probably deserving the MVP. 25% clutch versus Sugar Zero that was at 90%. He was definitely one of those guys that really stepped up for the alert plays as well for OpTic. He deserves that spot. I have him slightly lower just because I have other players like Victor that should be higher. That was rated higher than him. But
you think Victor is a better player than Marved?
I think it's just right. I think they're all that good, but there's just so many other players that you got to put somewhere.
Okay.
I struggled to rate Marv high just because of the amount of players I wanted to fit into my.
Well, that's
top 10.
It's always a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's always a struggle.
I didn't have him. But I respect the number 5 slot.
Yeah.
For him, even though I had him lower.
He just does so much more than every other controller, basically.
Does, yeah.
I mean, there are other controller players that are excellent in the tournament. It's scary. Mako is very good. Sugar Zero would have been excellent had he got there. He's still playing phenomenally for Zeta. But Marved is better than them all in a multitude of different ways. So he's just a beast.
Yep. Let's check out number 4.
Oh, the temperature is going up.
It is healthier in number 4. Child Demon. Ray's movement is insane. Well disciplined.
Demon.
That's a meme quote.
Such a fucking
Child Demon.
That is an absurd quote.
It's like actual Lucifer, that game, the video game, the computer game.
Exactly where I had Alvier at.
At
number 4, because I would have had him higher, but it is the unknown quantity that we do not know of how new players performing on LAN. He's performed really fucking well up to this point. He's put up incredible numbers. If he keeps up the same numbers that he's been doing online, this guy will be number 1. God is speaking to me.
To counteract the Child Demon.
If he keeps up his online numbers, he will undoubtedly, I think, deserve that a number 1 spot, honestly, in terms of best players, because if he plays online, Fnatic, they are looking strong and large in charge to win a lot of games.
He's an incredible player. He's incredibly smart as well. This is where I would put him roughly expecting his online performance, though. If I was expecting him to choke a little bit or something like that, I'd probably drop him down the list.
Not even choke,
but
I put him at this just expecting a drop, but still
variability.
Great.
Right.
And yeah, just to add the variability. But he plays so many fucking roles for the team.
He does,
and he puts up insane numbers every single time.
Yeah. I think it is, if he plays like he does online, he will simply be a lock for top 5, top 3. He is that good. He is a demon of a player. If I'm thinking about best duos at the event, I mean, Durka Alfier's at the top of my list. And those are the kind of players that you're relying on to shut down people like Forsaken and Jing, or, you know, your Yay and Victor or whatever. You know, you're really relying on Alfier to pop off, and he's just been so good for it.
I only had I had him slightly lower than this, but this is acceptable. I can accept this, but I did have him.
Look at the kill per round is just
It's
crazy.
disgusting.
Guys, let's really make sure that we
have it
keep
much
playing
lower.
Fnatic on Icebox. Let's just make sure we keep doing it. I mean, that is 116 Icebox rounds of just carnage.
It is.
Against
he also
Oglu
looks like
and
Sabrosa. Don't you
just-
think he looks like Sabrosa?
What, sorry?
Don't you think that Alfier looks a little bit like Sabrosa?
A tiny resemblance. It's this picture in particular. He doesn't look like it in the other pictures, I don't think. But it doesn't.
Are there
look as
any
much-
other pictures? Because the only other picture I could find is just the Fnatic one where they Photoshop his face over an old picture of Durka.
Sabrosa?
That's what they use for everything, and it
It's
just looks
so-
uncanny.
Is that
So
the
I
one where
didn't
he's
use
like
it.
face on? Because they
Yeah.
used that picture on the broadcast.
Yeah.
I didn't realize it was photoshopped. I've
That
just
is
got so
very
numb
funny.
to it. So many teams
Yeah.
do it.
Alpha
That is
Rosa.
very funny. All right, let's move on. Let's see number 3. Number 3. 3 is in the amount of slots EMEA has, and it's too many. All right, Aspas. You could argue Aspas was the best player at Masters Reykjavik, and he's continued to be in peak form since. Wyatt quote. Smart guy.
People forget about that, actually. The fact that Loud went on a run all the way to the finals and Aspas just popped off.
Even in the final when
Yeah.
they were losing, he still went crazy on all
stupid.
3 maps. He was just insane the entire event. First international LAN, another young player, and since has continued to just farm online. I mean, he's just farmed teams over and over. Also, kind of similarly to Les, but less so. Ugh.
No pun intended. I like that one. That was a good one. I like it.
I didn't want to say that, but it's just I have to use the English language. I just have to. He has played a little bit of Chamber too. Like in that last series against Nip, he played the Chamber on Icebox and went 29-10 and just destroyed them.
Yeah.
So you know he's playing a little bit of Chamber. Also, his Raze is just god tier, and we live in a Raze and Chamber world. So.
Aspas is the way that I think about Aspas is how I might end up thinking about Alfier after this event. That's like the kind of tier where you're getting into the god tier entry kind of players, although obviously Aspas does play a bit of Chamber, which is Durka's role on Fnatic. But the point being, Aspas, I think, has to be rated higher because he's already done it at a big event against the best teams. Even when they lost, he dropped a bajillion. And he's just been able to continue doing that the entire time. He's been maintaining consistency throughout.
Yeah.
So it's not to say that Aspas is necessarily going to be better than all the duelists we put him above, but he's got the track record so far that gives you that confidence he's going to be able to keep it up. He's just a nutcase. He's got 1.39 KPR.
I mean, it's only 36 rounds. I mean, those are baller numbers. He's got baller KPR on the Chamber. I mean, it's just bananas. I mean, yeah, we'll get to it, but we'll get to it later. But I might have had him a little higher.
We had a super chat from Confused Pickle that said, "Let me guess, Yay top 3 and some of the bland Chamber pick. Yawn, where's my BCJ or JoJo on this list?" Listen, BCJ and JoJo are not going to be the top 2.
Yeah,
they're just simply not going to be the top 2.
simply not.
But also, where the fuck is Jing? Okay? We've gone through a whole top 10, and unless you're agreeing with me that Jing's a top 2 player,
Maybe he's coming up.
he fucking better be.
Maybe he's coming up.
It's not your list, John.
Jing might be number 2. Let's
It's the collection of
let's
experiences.
see number
I know.
2. Number 2, the
But
amount
there's
of
two
EMEA
obvious
teams
players
that are going to
missing.
get knocked out in groups. Number 2 is Durka on Sideshow's top 21 list, but number 9. That's in a last quote. Thank you for that one, Connor.
That's good.
Yeah.
Oh, Christ. Durka number 2. I mean, he deserves it. He deserves it.
Yep. I mean,
He's
there's
just-
an argument he deserves number 1.
Boring chamber pick. Yep. But is he
Numbers.
possibly the best at the dumb broken agent? Yep.
Was
It's
he
possible.
also
So-
maybe the best at the Jett raise entry if he had been able to play at Reykjavik with a full team? Maybe.
Yeah.
I also put Durka at number 2, but I think this tournament is his time to show he deserves number 1. I think this tournament is actually him going on the fucking warpath to prove that he's the best player in the game. I think that's a genuine fight that he personally can have in this tournament. If Fnatic go on some sort of run and Durka looks better than Alpha, who's on his team, and they outperform people like Ye or people like Aspas, Durka has an argument to just be the best player. He has just dominated every LAN that he's been at. In his individual games, the team might not have dominated, but he's dominated the duels and the fights every LAN he's been able to play.
And Althea coming in has added, I don't know, that extra bit to take the weight off his shoulders. It's no longer Durka having to do a lot. It's shared, and he has just flourished because of it. The numbers he's been putting up have been absurd.
Yeah, it's not a small
sample
size.
His Master was 1, man, was like fucking flying to the hotel, taking a COVID test, waiting, and then flying home was just splendid. That's why he's also my number 2 in the top 20.
Yeah. I mean, we're looking at the stats right now. He has a 0.92 KPR in the past 355 rounds, which
355.
is really good. But also, of those 355, how many times did they play like FPX? I mean, they played 3 maps in the grand final. If you want, can you scroll down a little bit, Kurt, just to see? And then they played. They played 6 maps there. They played 9 FPX maps, and he still has. So like, they're playing against. He's played
Top
against the top
competition.
competition a lot for those rounds, and he's still putting up 0.92. So it's pretty insane. Deserves it. Well, all right. I think we can all guess who number 1 is, but we'll see it anyway. It might be Jing, Josh. Maybe it's Jing.
Is it Jing?
No, it's Ye.
Fuck you all.
No, it's Ye. If you don't have Ye at number 1 after he's lifted OpTic to a silver and gold at Masters 1, I think you're trolling. Looking at you, Bren.
I didn't have Ye number 1.
I fucking knew it. I had no idea what your list was, and I just knew that you're the kind of player you're the kind of person that loves to rate the underdog, and go for a wonky looking list.
My list is good.
Really?
You got BCJ number 1?
You got Boaster number 1?
No.
So I have something to say real quick. What if I were to tell you that Durka and Ye had the same amount of points?
Really?
And Ye won the tiebreaker because he had more number 1 picks, which was 3-2.
That's wild. But they have the same amount of points. So someone's put Ye at like 3rd or something.
Yeah.
Oh, that's Bren.
No, listen, we're looking at the list.
We'll have a look afterwards. But my point there for Ye was that when you're having this debate about is Ye or Durka or Alfie or Aspas, they're all in a group of the elite players in that like heavy fragging role for their team, whether it be the entry or whether it be the chamber role. It's much of a muchness, right? Your job is to take all of the resources from your team and go out and deliver frags, deliver rounds. The thing is, for Ye, he's just got such success to back it up. He has 2 series where he's gone negative since joining the team. Kind of fucked that stat, actually, because he did it in the grand finals against XSET as well. But, okay, pretty cool stat still. He's only had 2 series where he went negative at all. Insane consistency. But he's also been part of them getting 2nd place at Berlin and getting 1st place at Reykjavik. And I would argue he was the best player in both of those tournaments. I know there's a serious argument for, like, Marv could be the tournament MVP or whatever. But Ye just simply delivers in every single game for OpTic, and they would not be in the same place in the slightest without him. Mm-hmm. He's not an X factor. He's a permanent factor of greatness and the rock that the team stands on in order to get to their positions of winning shit. So I think on the greatness side of things, I just had to put him at number 1. But I really do think it's open to being stolen at Copenhagen.
Sorry, go ahead, Wyatt.
No, go on, Vansilli.
No, I just want to add as I was looking at like the first bloods and conversion rates for top players. So Ye has 109 first bloods during the stage 2. So this is groups and playoffs, where that contributes to 40% or 43% of the round win conversions where he's able to get first blood. Other players like Alphayer, he has 54 first bloods out of 193 rounds. Durka is at 66, so they're both at 20 and 34% respectively. And Artis is actually quite higher as well at 41% for FPX. So like even if you're looking at the top players that you have in your top 10 that are very, very crucial to the success of your team, it's still Ye that carries a lot of that weight for OpTic, for them to be able to get those rounds and get those conversions and go far in the tournaments.
Yeah, he just wrecks in opening duels.
Yeah,
he
man.
just wrecks you.
All right.
He's crazy.
It's time. We're going to look at the individual lists.
Oh my god.
I hate
and
mine.
make fun of each other.
I hate
Yeah,
it.
me too.
I really
I can't wait
hate
to
it.
make fun of each other while also just having a shite list.
Oh, here's the aggregate.
Jing and 11. So close, Josh.
Fuck.
So close.
Fuck.
so close. for you.
FNS at 13th. Holy mother of rating IGLs. Yeah, I think Sugetsu's been robbed here as well at 16th. He immediately stands out as a player that's been hard underrated by the group at large. I think he's...
Where did you place him out of curiosity? I
where
had
did
him
I
quite
put him?
high.
I
actually.
had
I think
him-
I had
we
him
can
at
see.
12th.
We can
I had
look
him
at
at
Josh's
13th.
list
Well, yeah,
here.
we can look. Here's Josh's list. All right, guys, let's make fun of Sideshow.
Oh, don't start with mine. I fucking hate my list, okay? I
Let's
fucking
make
hate my
fun of
list.
Sideshow.
Okay.
Okay, first of all,
Buzz is
at 7. I mean,
What? You don't think Buzz is an elite talent?
here's the thing.
He's popped off at every event he's been at.
I was thinking about it, and then I went back and I did some research.
Dude, Taco Alicia 10?
Takalisha's going to pop.
You've got chamber brain.
Takalisha is going to pop.
You've got chamber brain.
Chamber is insane right now. How could you not have Chamber Brain?
You overvalue it.
It's not about... I overvalue the most broken agent in the game.
You overvalue people that play chamber.
It's not... But
Their
they're
impact
on,
is obviously outlandish because their fucking agent's outlandish.
But you also
Of
have to
course.
be
Of course it
really
is.
good on it, and then there's the
But think about
god-tier
all
players
the
on it.
chamber players at this tournament.
But that's my point, is that's where I think Takalisha ranks in terms of all the Chamber players. I think he's behind Ye, Durka. I mean...
I'm not
Above
even
Cryo?
I'm not even
Yes,
mad at that.
I think Takalisha might be...
He is pretty sick.
He's
Bren.
fucking sick.
He is sick. I'm not even mad at that. I think the Buzz one is kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. Buzz at number
Really?
7. Yes.
Why do you think Buzz is crazy? I feel like he's just been consistently excellent at every event he's been at.
I think that he has been consistently good at Reykjavik. He was good, but in the matches that in their crucial close matches, he wasn't popping off like you'd want him to. You know, for me, it's not like the other duelists who, even when they're losing games, they're still having mega impact. Or other chambers, they're having mega impact. I know his roles have switched a bit too, where he's playing some of the other Sentinels and stuff. So he's
was
not
playing
gonna.
some Astra
Yeah,
as
he's
well
not
at
gonna
the
have
time.
he's not always gonna have that insane impact. But it was less than I wanted more from him at Reykjavik, and I just struggle to care about what's happening online in that region because I think it's just so. It's not. They don't have as many good teams as I don't think any other region other than maybe LATAM. I don't even know if that's true.
No,
I think KRÜ and Leviathan would beat any of who came in second, Maru Gaming. I think they would beat Maru Gaming and Onslayers and shit.
I agree
that's
with that, but
that's the issue I'm having.
I'm
with
not
placing those
rating
guys.
Buzz based on his online performance. I really just think he's still been ultra
playing at LAN, aren't they?
consistently good at LAN.
It's also
it's like
a bit,
fake LAN. I
it's
think.
a
I don't
bit
think it's real
predictive.
LAN,
I feel. I don't know. Whenever I'm doing these, I feel like I'm being a little bit predictive too, and I just feel like DRX are not going to do much at this event.
But I think part of that I think most of that comes down to what they're getting out of RB. If I see a drop off from a player, it's not Buzz dropping off.
Okay.
It's fucking RB. It just goes missing.
I want
7 is
I
just
want
so
a giggle.
high.
I'd like to look at a vast list.
Hold on, I still want. Okay, that's fine. I want to keep making fun of John.
I mean, my list is
FNS at 5. Wow. I mean, Connor
he-
just values
IGL
the
brain.
IGLs. Yeah,
IGLs.
He's
IGL.
got the IGL. He has got the IGL.
But
brain
then
for sure.
Sadak's not on the list, and okay. Here's a player that I was begging to put on my top 20, but I just already sent it to Kurt. Benkai. I think Benkai actually needs to be on a decent number of our top 20 lists because not only does he IGL, he frags pretty well for an IGL too, and he is incredibly good with the trading and supportive utility for the rest of his team in a way that you don't get often from other IGL players. Like, I think he plays more disciplined than Angel does. I think he's tighter with his team and better fragger than Boaster is. I think he's a better fragger than FNS, even though FNS has gotten better recently. I think he's better with his utility than most of those players as well. Like, he's really good. He's not going to pop in games as often as Sadak will, I think, but he doesn't play. He plays like a hyper supportive role and can occasionally still pop. I think he's very good and one of the most underrated players at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Avast. I'm not mad at it, and I appreciate that he has Zenfree on there. I just want to check. Could you hit Josh's again really quick?
For fuck's sake, man!
Do you? I'm sorry. I don't
like mine.
You have no Northeption players on here.
You fucking saw the list. Do I need to read it out for you?
I'm just.
I'll make a top 30. And I won't put a Northeption player.
Are you serious? You wouldn't put them in the top? None of them in the top 30.
That Alicia is gonna poop on Meteor.
I mean, you wouldn't put any of them in the top.
You wouldn't put
30.
Meteor on?
I haven't done a top 30, but probably not.
You don't put Meteor on?
I think Meteor might sneak in at the bottom, but there's a lot of good players. Might not.
Dude, this guy just
might not.
This guy just hates the power,
I mean,
Might just fuck around.
I
and
mean, that is.
I'm deleting this part of the VOD. We don't want to get sworn by Japan
I mean,
again.
that's. I mean,
Might just fuck around and not do that.
I'm gonna leave it simple. I don't agree. And we can keep moving. I don't agree.
Yeah,
I just simply do not agree.
I couldn't figure out where to put the FPX players apart from Sugetsu. To me, Sugetsu stands out as very, very talented player on FPX. I don't know who the second best player on FPX is.
I think 3 of us have Soigetsu all at 13. I think you did,
Really?
Connor did, and I did.
Yeah, maybe.
If you could you click on mine,
13.
Kurt?
And then 13, yeah.
Yeah, 3 of us had him at 13.
He's really good. He might even deserve to be higher than that. I just don't know where the fuck to put people like Zipan Shao and Ardis, because they seem to share the load quite a lot on FPX. They don't have like really consistent big players. Like, a lot of teams are built around a couple of big players and then a few lower, or like, they're a superstar team or something. But
Go on.
Found it hard.
You make fun of me now. My list is
Oh,
up.
this is your list,
Go
is
on,
it?
Josh.
Let's take a look at this one, shall we? I kind of like the top 10 actually, except Meteor and Zenfu. Dude, you know what? 10 and 11? 10 and 11.
Yep.
Meteor and Zinfu are going to pop off more than Mako. You know, Meteor played in the same region as Mako and was nowhere near as good. Or Buzz, nowhere near as good.
Then he went to the better region and leveled the fuck. I mean, it's true.
Also,
he went to the better region. And
Maybe you're better than
leveled up.
Jing and Surf.
It's not just your list, but Jing is being criminally underrated. I'm not just pointing out Wyatt here at 16. At least he's in the fucking top 20. But he's definitely a better player than
That
Victor.
is the only one I
Definitely
would-
a better player than Surf.
That is the only
definitely
one
a
I
better
would-
player than Meteor. Definitely needs to be higher up the list.
That is the only one I would consider being. I would
think my
consider
list is
moving up.
I feel like people have forgotten how much he pounded at Reykjavik. I mean, he was like one of the top.
He did.
I can't remember. Was
he
he like,
dominated.
Was he like stats wise a top 5 player
He
at Reykjavik or
dominated.
something?
Yeah, he did well.
dominated.
I can't
went
remember exactly
crazy.
the stats.
It was
I
great on
remember
Haven
Jing
and
at-
fragging.
I mean, he was playing Rainer on Haven and just pooing.
That's
on
what I'm saying. And pounding
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
Can you pull up my list? I
Let's
think
make
mine's
fun of Bren now.
fucking based as anything.
Oh yeah,
dude.
let's take a look at Bren's list.
Actually, the most based list.
So Durker at number
Love
one.
it.
That's
Sadhawk
fine.
number 3. Listen,
Sadhawk
I'm
number
okay. I'm not.
3.
Listen, I'll take it.
I
Might
just
be a little
that's
Leo 9.
Leo
Here's the-
9,
this is the
baby.
problem I had with Guild. They're probably going to go 0-2. And I hate to say it because I like Guild. Maybe they'll go 1 and 2
in the group.
Maybe they'll go 1 and 2 in the group.
They'll probably
Josh.
get a win. They'll probably win. It depends what the group looks like, honestly, but they'll probably win one.
They're okay. They're but I think it's most likely that they're going to go 1 and 2. I think that's probably a likely result.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at them, like, dude, who do I even put on here from Guild? And I put Trex low on my list because I do think I was supposed to say like Crex or like Craig, but like Trex. I do think Trex has been bananas towards the tail end of the Guild run. I love his Rays play. I was like, you know what? If they get a win, I could see Trex being like the catalyst of the win that they get over like a Leviathan or something. But I just couldn't. I feel like I couldn't place the other guys. I mean, 9 Leo. That's
I think he's the best initiator.
I've got Leo pretty
leaning
far up
there
there too. But I agree with you in the sense that these people are not going to look as good as they are because they're going to be on losing record teams in all likelihood.
Exactly.
But I think that the same could be said for somebody even like if we're predicting XSET to finish 5th, 6th, that's a win-loss-loss. 5th, 6th for XSET, who have already made it to the bracket, is win-loss-loss. You're probably not going to look as good if you're Zeta and Cryo as you have done in North America, even though they are really good. So I tried to ignore a little bit of the team results, and I tried to go with more of in a vacuum a bit, but it's tough. And also, I fucking hate my list. So
what do you hate about it most, Josh?
First of all,
I don't think I'm okay. I mean, I think
I hate the list for a couple of reasons. First of all, I hadn't watched all of the VODs when I was asked to send this to Kurt, so I was like watching more of the games and like, oh my god, I've overrated Takolisha because I watched the KRÜ Leviathan game early where he popped off, and then I'm watching more games of them and other players that I want to rate higher than them, and then on top of that, we don't even know who's going out of KRÜ and NIP. Not that I would probably put any of those players on the list, to be honest, but it, I don't know. I was having this discussion with my chat when I was talking about the list, about the players on the border at the bottom and who the 21st player is going to be that pops off. Because there's always going to be someone that's left off the top 20, and then they go crazy at Copenhagen, and they're going to be like, you fucking idiots, you didn't put me on the list. It was Durka, it was, I can't even remember who, whatever. But I think it could be a Mystic kind of level player, where they're a really good support player, and they're in really good form right now, and if the team makes a run, people are going to be gassing them up as the best support player in the world because the team made a run. Jojo moment. Sure. BCJ. Like, if one of those teams makes a run, one of the supportive players on that team is going to have played exceptionally well.
Amazingly. Yeah.
And we won't have put them on the top 20, and we'll look like idiots. But it's going to be somebody like... Mystic is my shout as the top 21 player this time. I suppose it could be Enzo because he's in crazy good form too. But
in your case, it could be literally any player on NORTHEPTION if they do well.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, like,
it could.
If they do well at all, just any player on that team that has done well would possibly slot in.
But they're getting grouped, so it's not a problem.
We didn't. Yeah. Let's see Vansilli's list.
Oh, yeah, let's have a look at Vansilli's list.
Yeah, so I forgot Sugetsu. So if I had to replace somebody on my list to put Sugetsu in there, I'd probably take away RB. But outside of that, I think my list is kind of based.
I'm not on the RB train just because he never seems to convert his online play to LAN. He just doesn't. I feel like this is even last chance saloon for RB. Like, if he doesn't turn up at this event, is he even... guaranteed a spot on the top team in Korea? I also don't...
Is he still IGLing for
No, he
for
never
DRX?
was. It's Zest
He
that
never
does
was?
the IGLing, and it was Stacks before.
Yeah.
But I also...
I mean,
I think Victor and Artis...
that's the highest anyone has
there.
Artis, I think.
Yeah.
Right? I would imagine, unless Mimi just...
That man walks
Artis.
on water. That man walks on water.
Yeah, let's make
He
fun
said
of
it
Mimi.
himself.
She's not here to defend herself. Let's make fun of her.
I honestly just feel that Artis is just going to be able to thrive off like the LAN experience and like the trash talk against the other players to just be like, I'm going to fucking own this event just based off that. To be able to run that mental game is going to be a great plus for FPX.
I think Artis is good. I'm just wondering whether he has the same skill of players like Les, Boz, Alpha, I mean, I know you said the rookie players you didn't allow in the top 10, which is makes sense why Alpha is so far down there.
Has my biggest regret from the list on his, which is that I didn't put Scary on it.
Scary?
Yeah.
That Scary could definitely be the top 21 player.
But again, Xerxia is just not going to make a run. Clip it.
I mean, you say that now, but... I mean, you say that now, but
they're not going to make
they
a
beat
run.
OpTic.
Yeah, but then they just got crushed by them the second time around, and OpTic's the only team that they seem to beat. Who do they beat outside of that?
They only beat one of the best. I know, but
They only beat the
I
team
know
that
what
ended up
you're
winning the
saying.
event.
I mean, they are
but
a good team.
if they
but-
go on a run, though, I feel like Scary is a top 21 candidate.
Yes, Scary is. I was trying to rank the controller players. I think he's your top 3 controller player at the event, which is wild because he's not on a top 3 team. But
It's really good.
I think it's Marv, Mako, Scary,
yeah.
which is extremely good.
Mimi's
all right,
list.
what's Mimi?
Dude,
Okay,
she has done the
Boaster.
ultimate punt. No, she put Kesnet on the list. He's not even confirmed to go yet. So she's predicted KRÜ to win and then Kesnet to be a top 20 player. That is that is a crazy top 20 punt.
Yeah, Meteor at 7th,
Based.
Boaster at 6th. I mean, I'm on the
Based.
Boaster train, but I was too high on Boaster at Reykjavik. I mean, obviously his team got fucked up, so whatever. But I think Boaster's got less of a crucial job on the team now than he did at Reykjavik. I think the load's been taken off his shoulders a bit with Enzo coming in and how good Alpha Year is, and him moving more into smokes. But so I can't get
Smokes
on
instead
board
of
for that.
Flex,
But
Mimi's got the RB pick too. Watch this just be the first tournament where RB goes crazy.
imagine FNS being above Forsaken. It's just.
I mean, he provides a ton of value. It's the IGL rating, Josh.
I know. I used to be the guy that was gassing up the IGLs, and now other people are fucking all over the place with this IGL nonsense. It's absolutely mad. So I had one final thing I wanted to bring up with this stuff, though, too, which was if you're a fan of F1, so the way that we do the rankings, the way that Kurt does this, is if someone is at the 20th position, they get 1 point. If someone's at the first position, they get 20 points. What it means is if people are on the lists a lot, they go up the list a lot. But the way that like races do this, if you're an F1 fan, they weight placing at number 1 really highly. So you get a lot more points for being number 1, and you only get a single point for being at the bottom of the pack. So I applied I asked Kurt to, he was kind enough to apply the F1 rankings to this. So it's gonna, if you are up at the top of the list, you're now gonna be massively higher than the other people.
Interesting.
So it does change things a little bit. Could we take a look at that as well? Kurt said he'd created this. So this is what happens when you use the F1 ranking. So Durka and Ye are miles ahead, indicating that you know they're clearly the top 2 candidates. And then you've got still Marv hanging around the 5th position.
Boaster
top
breaks
10.
into the top 10.
Yeah, Boaster breaks into the top 10 because certain people are rating him top 3. So he gets a lot of points off the back of that. So it shuffles the order around a bit, but it doesn't really change the players too much.
Still
which is
9
interesting.
are the same.
Less got left out of the list this time because I guess a lot of people are rating him well, but not incredibly. Like no one thinks Les is going to be the best player at the event, I guess.
Wait, so a lot of you guys
yeah.
still had cryo cells pretty low going into Masters 2. So did you guys believe in that sort of like shakiness of his first LAN, or is it other factors that has you ranking cryo cells outside of the top 10 when he's like really done well during the playoffs?
He's done very well during the playoffs. I think he needs to keep that form up, and even so, the competition gets a lot higher. And
I still have him in the top 20, which I think is
top 20 is
top
still
20 is still you're crazy.
You're an incredible
of course.
player.
Yeah. So,
Okay.
all right. Well, that concludes us. I think that's a sizable amount of content for everyone to have a nice time making fun of us. And that's what it's all about, really, at the end of the day. So we can all. I want to do Wyatt's weekly. Why are you here? Why are you here again? The guard from the guard. Last time you came in,
who you
hijacked
were
the
expecting,
show.
but I thought I'd drop by. This one's better. It's the Guard's Very Good Great Gamer Award.
I wanted to apologize.
You're hijacking my segment.
I was rude to you guys the last time I was on. It's not your fault that the guard lost. It's not you guys' fault. You guys are okay. You're okay.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to make it up for you guys
Thank you, the guard.
by making a segment here for you all.
Thank you.
It's called the Guard's Very Good Great Gamer Award.
You really pulled out all the stops for that one,
And
didn't
it's
you?
for the greatest gamer.
Oh,
Did you just come back from the pub?
What?
The guard's having a little break, so the guard from the guard's been out on the lash. Okay, so you've hijacked Wyatt's weekly award, kicked our host away,
No.
and decided to make your own.
It's my own award. It's a segment I made for you guys.
oh. Okay.
Thank-
So
no.
what? Well, what are you doing with the segment?
Well, I think I have an award that I might hand out.
Oh, okay.
A player, a great gamer.
Oh, a great
new
gamer.
award.
Good, great
Wow.
It's a new one.
Yeah.
That actually looks like you. It's even got your colors and everything.
gamer. Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Who's it going to, Miss?
Who's
it
going to?
The guard?
Well,
From the guard.
I'm going to give it to myself for being so understanding and willing to learn from my mistakes. And also
You're
being so
giving it-
incredibly humble.
To you.
Sorry. Let me get this straight. The
Yeah.
Guard's Very Good Great Gamer Award is going to the Guard from the Guard.
Yes. I'm going to give it to myself.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to overrule you. I
Not
know
many
you've-
people can look at their weaknesses and overcome them.
True, but
I'm great.
isn't it supposed to be for a game?
This is a shockingly egotistical segment that the guard has created.
I mean, what would your choice be?
I don't know, maybe Balla or something. I don't know. Balla
What about you?
Balla dropping 1,000 kills in the match.
Who would I go
Yeah.
for?
Jing.
Blood.
Jing possibly. Jing's been a great gamer.
Yeah, I mean, I might get. Listen, a better choice than the Guard would have been Valin for popping off on the analyst desk at least. And instead,
yeah.
you haven't even
Yeah.
gone with your own player who went crazy on the analyst desk and was amazing. You've gone with yourself.
Yeah.
Is that Valen under
Yeah.
the mask? Is that
What?
Valen under the helmet?
Vance, who would you have gone for?
Definitely 100% Valen. No, hands down.
Hmm.
First time doing analyst desk, no experience, 19 years old, big stage. Now has to go through a full production, understanding what it's like to work a desk, work the analysis,
Yeah.
the prep that goes into it, and still kick ass.
Very good
And do
point.
Telestrator for the first time. Bren can't even do Telestrator on VCT broadcasts, and
Very
Valen
good
did it.
point.
No, you're right. Bren is shit. I
Very
mean,
good point.
maybe we should get the. Wouldn't you agree, Guard, that Valin should replace Bren like full time?
Yes.
Or matter of fact, even you. You're a great analyst of Valorant.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I gave the award to myself. Now, you make very good points about Valen. I'll put it up for consideration. I'm still going with me.
Okay. All right. Is this segment
I
going to come back?
appreciate the character
Is
development.
this going to come back?
Yeah. Are you going to have to do the same sponsored segment again, where you pick yourself again?
As long as I keep finding ways to break in.
All right.
We'll have to up the security at the Plat Chat compound. Well,
Yep.
thank you, the guard from the guard. For
But you would have
coming
given it to
again.
Bala.
Hashtag ad. I think Bala, he might have deserved it. Though I wouldn't have given it to Bala because I've given him the award like 2 weeks ago. But he did drop like a million. I mean, he went like 40 and 10.
No, he
You're
dropped
crazy on your
61.
fracture.
He
Yeah.
dropped 60.
Now-
Well, over the two
Yeah.
maps, he dropped 61 kills.
Yeah, I mean, Bala has just been
You
demonic.
did go crazy.
And that means we want to
the
map off
Boomerangs
the
league.
best group in our team, which then means we still have a great chance to make playoffs in top 4 with our matches.
Yeah.
More on Sunday. Make sure you tune in to the Plat Chat podcast.
But also, maybe I would have given it to Jing just because I want to see you smile.
Well,
Yeah, is that?
yeah, that's it. That's
Is
it.
that you got anything more to say? Or is
Can
that,
you-
Put a question.
Can you tell people to sub to our show?
If you want to,
It's not Bren.
Okay, that's not. First of all, that's not Bren. Also, let me put. Don't worry, the guard from the guard. I got this.
you want this?
Don't worry.
I can do.
got
I
this.
can do it though.
But
I can do it.
Okay.
But I'll let you take over.
Okay. Thank you, the guard, for sponsoring Plat Chat once again. Hashtag ad. Goodbye, the guard from
No,
the
I
guard.
just needed to.
Oh, you just need to stretch your legs. Okay. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you next week for Plat Chat. I mean, you're just so stoic. Episode 98 next week. Question for the chat. Who is going to be the... Yeah, I suppose, for the comment section. So leave a comment. Who is going to be the top 21 player of Copenhagen? Who is the player that's going to pop off that we missed on our list? Leave a comment and let us know.
Are we announcing something or are we saving it?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. I don't know either.
But we might announce something next week, so tune in for that on Plat Chat Valorant episode 98. There might be an announcement. Oh, that'll be cool.
Crazy.
Oh, all right, we'll see you then. Bye. Bye.